Cascais in beautiful Portugal. We have a fantastic forecast for the day, over 25 knots in the forecast. It's going to be really hardcore for this penultimate day of the ROLEX TP52 World Championship. Welcome in the studio to Lars Booking, our Sustainability Officer, our Marketing and Communications Officer, professional footballer, bon vivant, a little bit of everything. But Lars is going to talk to us about our sustainability programme and also perhaps a little bit about the future. Yesterday was a good day for the coastal race, nice, interesting coastal race, lots of action and Quantum Racing winning and that taking them to the top of the table. And so this was yesterday on the coastal race. Hello, welcome back to Cascais in Portugal. Cascais, a beautiful, authentic sailing destination. Round the sailing club just now, it's midsummer. There's loads of kids learning to sail, starting out on their career and learning an affinity for the ocean.
We're not only trying to do a good job here as teams, but we're also trying to show the way and lead the younger generation of sailors and also all of our families and everybody in doing a good job with the environment. So that's the goal here with the Super Series.
And I think for everyone going out on the water, it's impossible not to care.
It's amazing to see the awareness that's starting to happen about, the plastic in the ocean and the junk, and we see it every day, but most people don't. And you think that it's just a dumping ground and it disappears, but just not the truth. And it's really cool for me to see the world starting to realize that, and it's important.
Well, the coastal race starts in a lighter breeze, 8 to 9 knots on the start line, a little bit less than expected. Allegra start off the pin end of the line nicely with Quantum Racing 1/3 up. At the committee boat end, it's Luna Rossa and Phoenix, and the right side is favoured once again. In the right shift, it's really all about the ley line. Quantum Racing, Allegra, Sled and Phoenix all nail that nicely and around the top mark in great shape. And a jibe set at the top mark. But up the second long beat, back up to Cabo de Raso, it's short tacking up the shoreline. Phoenix make a nice gain in the snakes and ladders up the shore. Luna Rossa catch a crab pot and lose 4 places down to 9th and have to catch up. And Sled make a nice gain down that run, chasing Quantum Racing through the leeward gate. But Quantum Racing hold on to win. Phoenix gets second, just ahead of a photo finish for 3rd. Sled get 3rd, Allegra 4th, and Luna Rossa recover up to 5th.
It is great to be here in Cascais and to get some racing and some stronger wins. It's all incredibly close right across the fleet. It was never a dull moment, never over. I think with 4 races to go, there's still a lot to play for us.
Lots of action right up against the shoreline. I don't know how many tacks I lost count. There were so many. That was anything but boring.
And the standings, Quantum Racing on 11 points, Azura on 18 points and Allegra also on 18 points. Who said coastal races were boring? Anything but today here in Cascais. Quantum Racing leading all the way through and stepping ever closer to the world title. Well, Lars, we had our sustainability meeting this morning with our ambassadors. How are we going on sustainability? We're now starting to see some initiatives coming through from the fleet themselves.
Oh, we did lots of progress within the last couple of events, but every venue is something new, it's challenging, and also here in Cascais, it's a very special situation because of the current, because of the tide, and so that makes our job, when we're talking about the beach cleanup, the stuff we did yesterday with a small little boat, cleaning up a little bit the harbor, that makes it challenging. But I think in general, the thing works quite well, and there's good progress, there's lots of interaction with the teams, the involvement, the engagement is getting bigger and bigger, and works quite well.
And the kids here really seemed to get it, didn't they? We had 25 kids yesterday and they needed no pushing. They were just there and did the whole job, eh?
No, there's no pushing at all. From my point of view, it's also now very much about the proactivity. And nowadays when we go to the yacht clubs, the message is how can we help you? It's very much about spreading the message and our role as influencers, and that's one of the top topics what we have on our table also for this season.
So, I mean, you would say that the plastic bottles are what people have called the low-hanging fruit, the easy topic. We're making great progress there, but as you said, things are starting to come through from the fleet themselves, from the ambassadors and from the teams. And we've seen Sean Dougie Couvre from the Phoenix team coming forward with this new initiative.
Yeah, that's one of the most important things, and it was also a key learning from the last years, that we talked to the sailors, that we asked them for the ideas. And I think I remember quite well, 1.5 years ago, we started talking to Flipper. He was there with Interlodge, and before he was with Platoon, and they were coming up with this idea with the sea bin. And now you can the sea bin, it's everywhere. The people are talking about that. And this morning we were talking to Phoenix with Dougie. He was coming up with a water filtration system, what they have in a small little backpack, and they are using that as well. It's very good, that we have this initiative, that there is some new innovation going on, and that's another step in the right direction. But Andy, as we know, as runners,
exactly,
it's what? It's
a marathon, not a sprint. Exactly.
So working on that.
But it is, as you say, it's good to see these initiatives coming forward from the teams, from the individuals who clearly care. And we spoke with Sean Dougie Couvre this morning, and he explained exactly what this is that he's invented and what the applications are beyond sailing. So a little explanation then, first of all, what is this you've developed?
We've developed basically a portable water filter system, so we can fill up water bottles or fill up a water tank in your rib, which you can then use to fill your water bottles. And it's just a pretty simple filter. It's a 2-part filter, a particulate filter and then a UV filter. It's got its own battery source, and we hook it up to the water source on the dock. And then we have a quick connect to fill up our water bottles, or a quick connect to be able to fill up our water bladder, and it cleans our water.
So how long does it take to fill up a bottle?
From the water bladder, it takes about 15-20 seconds.
And to fill up the bladder?
I think Rue tells me it takes about 10 minutes.
So it's very practical, very simple.
Yeah, it's simple. Our goal in the whole system is to make it easier to use water from the dock than to go out and buy plastic water bottles. So if we provide a usable filter that's easy to carry, easy to move around, then people won't want to go buy water bottles because this will be easier.
This has got a much wider application than just the 52 Super Series.
Yeah, absolutely. Our goal is to basically start out with sailing, but we have a recreational market. We also have a system that we can pull water out of a stream and filter it and clean it, so for camping and other recreational activities.
So where do people find out about this?
Right now it's on our website, guzzleh2o.com. All the information's on there, and just email us and we'll get back in touch.
What's the response been like from your team and other teams?
So far, it's been really good. We just actually went public a couple days ago, and we've had actually more orders than we expected in the first 24 hours. And everybody thinks it's a great idea. There's not much on the market right now for a portable filter solution, which is kind of why we've kind of come up with the idea, because you search on there and there's just not much out there.
Good luck with it.
Thanks a lot.
So good luck with that. Looks like there's an application beyond sailing as well for the outdoor sports, Lars.
Yep. So I don't get it. Sorry, Andy, I don't get the question. So.
No, I'm saying this looks like there's an application for the backpack, for the water filtration system that will go beyond sailing, and I say it's coming from us in the first place. So it's a great initiative.
No, that's why I'm saying it's very much about innovations. You know, I'm really happy to see that, and that's the reason also why we talk to the sailors, because the most important thing for us to get feedback. As more feedback we have, as better we are, we will get with our different initiatives, and that's a great one. Where with Phoenix, we talked about it. They had the idea, they are getting all the support we can give them, and another step in the right direction.
Absolutely. Meantime, where are we with the circuit? We've got 9 boats here. We had 12 boats at the start season. Get a little bit of an explanation why there are 3 boats which are not here.
Yeah, we have the thing is, that we have the overall circuit, that the 52 Super Series, but within the circuit we are open. We have different events going on, like we had the Royal Cup there in Sada, and, you can hop into each of the events, and as more boats we have, as better it is for the sailing in general. But at the end, it's not like a must be. You don't have to do all the different events, and sometimes the sailors, they have a different plan. For example, like Gladiator, they were sailing in the US at the moment. Then the Frenchies from Paprec, congratulations for winning the World Cup to the French friends. They are doing the Copa del Rey. Then Geo, they decided only to do one event, but at the end, it's very much about
it's about personal choice, isn't it? It's what these guys want to do, and obviously a lot of these guys are running businesses. They don't have unlimited time, and so they'll pick and choose what they want to do. So where are we for next season? How does that look?
Oh, the next season, that looks quite promising. I think we will have the same number of boats. I think there's some interest from some teams from the US. We have 5 events next year as well. So again, three events here in Spain, but then we have one new venue, Porto Cherry, which is close to Cádiz. That will be a new experience.
Another windy venue like Cascais, we hope.
Yeah. Cascais, we had the idea. The idea was to go to Cascais because of the conditions, because of the wind, and finally Cascais delivered. After having a couple of days with less wind there in Sada, I think now we have the perfect mix. And at the end, that's also what sailing about. It's not only about the tough conditions, also about the patience in lighter conditions, but you know that much better than I do.
Absolutely, and a little bit of lifestyle as well. We go where the owners like to go.
Well, when we're talking about lifestyle, for sure, we have to talk about Puerto Portals. That's one of the best places in terms of lifestyle. But I still remember the good times we had in Miami, South Beach. That's something
absolutely
special.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll be back there not too distant future. Let's have a look at the standings then, because Quantum Racing are just easing clear at this regatta, really putting the pressure on the boats behind. So Quantum Racing on 84 with Sled now 100 points, 16 points behind. Luna Rossa 106, moving up the table. Platoon moving a little bit down like the German football team perhaps, Lars, on 108. Allegri doing well at this regatta, 114 in 5th. Azura a little bit up and down, good start to this regatta, but 116 points. Phoenix 122, Prevezza 140, Onda on 144, Gladiator and Paprec both scoring DNCs because they're not competing here. So Lars, Quantum Racing an unstoppable force?
No, but the thing is, first of all, I have to come back to the football stuff. Andy, as far as I know, you are Scottish, and the Germans, we still have 4 stars on our shirt. Lars, and I don't want to talk about football's coming home. Come on, Andy.
If your reference for the German football team is Scotland, then where are you?
Then we're in trouble. No, coming back to your question, it's halfway through, and yes, Quantum is in the lead, with Dean Barker, Terry Hutchinson. I think they have a great team together, as always, but there are some points still to fight for.
Absolutely.
Yep, so we'll see. But Quantum, they look good. I think Luna Rossa, they had a great event there in Sada. We have Azura. The competition is on the highest level, and you never know.
Anything could happen. So the course for today, we're back to windward lewards after yesterday's coastal race, and so fairly conventional, 2 ups, 2 downs. We're in the standard northwesterly breeze, and as I said, the forecast is up to 25 knots. Hopefully we're getting Jenny Tulloch on the water. Jenny, how's it looking? We're just looking at the course in virtual terms. How's it looking on the water?
Out on the water today, it's a little bit of a surprise. We were expecting it to be quite windy this afternoon. We had heard 20 up to 25, and when they first came out closer to shore, it was more like 20 knots, but out here a little bit further near the mouth of the river, it's probably only 15, 16 knots at the moment. So I think a lot of the teams have actually seen them drop their mains, go up with different sails, or even just have someone up the rig on Phoenix taking a look at the course to see where the best pressure is. And I think the assumption is probably that the right is still going to work today. But we are much further offshore. The breeze is further to the right at 345 degrees, so just 15 degrees off of north, whereas previous days it's been like 315. So the course has been moved offshore so that we have a bigger runway towards the coastline. And I think that means it's going to be a little bit different of a race course altogether. And maybe the right won't pay so much, especially if we might expect a little bit more of a left shift to get it back to that 315 sea breeze. So it is going to be an interesting afternoon of racing.
And Jenny, what was your forecast that you saw?
Where would I?
I'm asking you what the forecast was that you picked up on the dock when you were speaking with some of the sailors. What are they expecting today?
I think at some point today it should go more like to 320, 330 and then pick up. So we should see probably 20, 25 knots at points this afternoon. Whether we'll still be out on the race course or whether that comes through a little bit later, that's yet to be determined. We did see a huge dark cloud line come over this morning at about 25 knots at that time, but that was like 10 a.m., so it was right as the boats were coming out on the water. And then just now the clouds have all cleared up. It's a beautiful sea breeze day, but maybe the breeze is a little bit lighter than expected because that gradient is fighting that sea breeze instead. So probably once it shifts more towards sea breeze direction, then it'll really start to increase.
And in terms of the World Championship, then Quantum Racing have that 8-point buffer, I think it is, moving ever closer. Can they be stopped, do you think?
You know, I think they've got such a good mental place right now. They basically say that even though they're winning, they're still seeing huge errors on their team, and they feel like every to win. And so I think they've got the right attitude to be not only 8 points ahead, but we could see them kind of continue to extend throughout this weekend. They're very much thinking about the season, each event, and they've got this ultimate goal of the America's Cup as well. So the team is not in any way going, oh, 8-point buffer, that's great. They're going, man, we made this mistake and we made that mistake and we need to work on this and we could be better at that. And I think if you want a winning team, you always got to have to be practicing and training and getting better, even if you are racing to a really good caliber already. And I think, I don't know, I think they're pretty hard to stop right now. For sure, there's other teams out here that are doing well as well. So Quantum's showing why they have an 8-point lead.
And Jenny, you're talking about America's Cup teams. We've got Luna Rossa. Luna Rossa, a little bit of a roller coaster here. They've had bad day, good day, bad day. And should be back today with a good day, you would think. Their execution is pretty good, but they've had mechanical problems.
Yeah, I mean, they've had such an unfortunate regatta. They had their hydraulic issue just before the very first start of the event, which puts anyone off. You know, it just sort of puts you on the back foot to begin with to have a DNF in a regatta that has no throwouts. And then yesterday they were right in the mix in 5th place in a really close, tight tacking battle up the shoreline, and they were unable to see a crab potter. Maybe it was below the water, and they had a massive stop and back down. They ultimately had to send someone in to swim the pot off, and they dropped all the way to 9th. I mean, in hindsight, they then were able to catch up on the final last quarter of the final upwind, and they caught back right up from 9th back into 5th. So they are always fighting. I think they know they're on the back foot because they've had a deep score with the DNF and then the 5th. But they're a hard team to beat as well. They won the last regatta pretty well. They were fighting with Phoenix at the end on the final day, and they came through in flying colors. And I think we know that they're chomping at the bit as well. So it's gonna be a good fight right to the end. It's the second to last day. We still have racing tomorrow too, so there's plenty more racing left.
But meantime, of course, as say, their America's Cup team, this is their first year together. So days with adversity is good in terms of how they react to it. It builds a stronger bond and they learn together for the future.
I think it's a lot about learning each other at this point and communication on both of those teams. I mean, Quantum Racing, Dean Barker's new to the team this year. Luna Rossa, the whole team being put together. They're versions of previous Luna Rossa America's Cup teams, but they're not the same versions. So they're all just trying to feel each other out and get the niggles out of the way and figure out what the right words are to minimize words on board. I mean, that's always what you're trying to do is really anticipate your teammates so there's almost no talking in the end when you're a perfect team. But at this point, when it's so early in a season really for a team or in a 2 or 3 year period for a group like that, they're definitely going to have learning pains, and they're all just trying to get through it as the racing goes on.
And Jenny, what's your evaluation of what's been going on with Platoon here? They came in as the world champions and they're presently 8th on the table. They really have struggled here.
You know, I had a little chat over coffee this morning with Dirk DeRitter, their main trimmer, and he said, "What's your advice for us?" Which I thought was really cute because they've got John Cascais, right? So nobody needs advice. But I said, get off the start line, man. And I think we talked about it yesterday.
Yeah.
They're a team that's known for conservatively starting in the middle and kind of playing every shift up the beat. And this is not a venue that rewards that style, you know, and they need to either start at the pin, which has been favored, back and cross the fleet and get to the right side, or sacrifice that and start at the boat and still get to the right side. And we've seen those two strategies pay. And they haven't done that. They've done their platoon sort of middle of the line.
Middle, yeah.
And here you schooled by both sides. Yeah, and he said they have debriefed that 3 days in a row now. So it's a bit about when that's going to get through. I told him maybe he has to whack JK over the head. I think they're close enough to be able to do that. But, you know, it's just difficult on the start line. We talked about execution. We talked about the teams that know the strategy but are able to do it the best, can do it the best. And we've seen a couple different boats do that. Allegri very clearly has confidence in their ability to start at the 10, and they've executed really well twice now, and they've been rewarded with a win 2 days ago and then a top 3 yesterday for that. And I think that's impressive. Quantum Racing also is good at starting near the pin, and when the pin's favored with the right side course, you have to really have a good enough start to then tack across the entire fleet there, and that's hard. And talking with Cheese, I asked, you know, do you feel like you guys are struggling for boat speeders? Is it literally just the starts? And he said, yeah, they're both set up a little bit more for 8 to 12 knots, and we've seen, you know, more like 15 to 20 throughout the week. So they aren't necessarily fast, but he doesn't think they're slow. I think it's just about execution and the teams that are really kind of enforcing their spots on the start line.
Absolutely. I mean, I think Allegri's the case in point there. Allegri have mastered the port end starts a couple of times, and that's really worked for them, hasn't it? And I think it's also you know, there's an element of confidence. When you're hot, and when you're cold, and it's very difficult to find a kind of middle ground, if you like. And Allegri are certainly hot here, but have had their difficult moments over the last couple of years.
You need the human reset button, like the
Absolutely.
Wipe your memory clean, and if you don't have that and you're deep on the scoreline, then it is really a difficult ask. Yeah, I don't know what they can do to reset. I mean, I think unfortunately it maybe would have been nicer for Platoon today to feel in this 15 to 16 knots. But even just now, as I look up the course and as the race committee sort of moves upwind a little bit, it looks like it's building even more all the time. So perhaps
we're just. Jenny, thanks very much. We're just on board with Allegri just now. Look pretty relaxed, Nick, don't they?
Yeah, I think they're going to be delayed for a while.
Yeah, I think it's going to be half an hour or so. So they'll just stay focused. Jenny, thank you very much indeed just now. We'll come back to you. I think we'll take a little bit of a short break. I know you've just come in and joined us, Nick. Nothing personal, but we'll have a little bit of a break. Join us again in a short while. Watch on the social media on the screen. We'll come straight back just before racing starts today. Join us very shortly. Well, welcome back. Sorry about the little delay there, but the two bits of good news from the water are that the breeze is right up and the warning signal is imminent. The AP is down, and hopefully we're going racing. So pretty fruity conditions by the looks of things, Nick.
Yeah, definitely switching around. We had way right of what's normal, so these guys intelligently waiting for the breeze to fill in so they didn't have to abandon the race midway through with a 40-degree shift.
Indeed, but say the forecast, I think we've seeing over 20 knots on the committee boat just now. What's it going to be about today? It's really about keeping things tight and sailing clean, isn't it?
Yeah, well, everyone's going to be looking to stay away from other boats because it's going to be easy to make mistakes and easy to break things today. So the better you can stay away from everybody and just make sure your boat's going around the race course, the better you're going to do.
That's right. So Quantum with this lead. Allegre and Azura are not too far behind, but it's really going to just be about execution for Quantum, keeping it tight, isn't it?
Yeah, well, like we said yesterday, those guys have been sailing together a long time and have really good teamwork, so this is certainly playing to their strengths, this condition today, so you should see them do pretty well.
We saw Azura doing well on day one when it was breezy, and Santi Lang's feedback then was saying it's really just a case of not so much tactical sailing but just letting the guys do what they do well. So I wonder whether we'll see Azura coming back into the frame, and indeed it should be interesting to see how they do relative to Allegre. Allegre, you would say, maybe have taken their opportunities in the last few days off the pin end and made them work, but I think it'll be interesting to see how they go today, and it does look quite breezy. So Jenny, it looks quite breezy out there. How are you getting on?
Yeah, the 20-minute delay and slightly moving more inshore has done everything we needed to do. So it's now 20 knots from 320, which is exactly what we were expecting of this afternoon. So beautiful conditions. Teams have gone into slightly stronger jibs for better breeze. We've got 3 minutes to go to start, so it's still a lot of corralling in the pack, trying to decide last second where they are going to start. I think you can see Allegre already playing a little bit at the pit, so maybe they've got their same game plan going on, but it's much windier, so that start of the pin tack across is a harder thing to execute. So it'll be really interesting to see who actually goes for it down here versus who goes towards the boat end of the line.
And Jen, you've got the full Southern Ocean gear on, have you?
Absolutely, I'm taking no chances. I was a wet dog the other day coming in off the water, and I was wearing all this gear already, so there's not many more layers you can go, but I've got everything on today. And a quick word, Onda are not on the water today. Eduardo de Souza Ramos is still a little bit ill, so our hopes are with him. Hopefully he's back with us tomorrow. Get well soon, Eduardo. Meantime, his team have taken the decision to stay ashore rather than put the boat in any risk at all. So hello to the Onda team. So how are things shaping up then, Jen? We're just looking at the start line, as you say. Azura playing towards the pin end of the line, perhaps. Prevetsa down that end. Top end sled, Quantum. Jenny, how's it looking? Yeah, we've got a much longer distance to the starting line. They're sort of all giving themselves a long runway here. We've got a minute and 30 seconds to go, but plenty of breeze to get them through the current upwind and towards the start line. And I think, as you said, it's probably a good call that Onda's made here. It is 20 knots expected to build throughout the afternoon. So knowing that it's a new boat and a new team, and without the owner on board driving, you just really don't want to sacrifice anything. You really want to make sure you don't ruin the boat on a day like today. And I think a lot of these teams will be being very safe all day long.
And love them as we do. They are in 9th position. It's not. It's probably a prudent decision. And you never know. I know that they're watching and they're looking to learn together as a team from what they can see on this race. So Azura, Nick towards the pin end of the line. Allegre, not sure what's going on with them just now, but Platoon also down towards the... but generally the bunch is up towards the committee boat end, Nick.
Yeah, well, right side has been favored. It's still going to be favored this leg, and the boats are going to be further towards the boat end if the pin isn't a little bit biased, and so we're probably seeing a square line and the boats want to get to the right side.
So Jenny, 25 seconds to go. Take us through the start, please.
Well, Azura bearing away for them to beginning of their acceleration here. 20 seconds to go. They're stamping there. We want to win the pin. This is it. They've broken away from the pack. In fact, Platoon holding the rest of the pack up. And as they're going for it with a, we're going to nail this pin. 8, 7, 6 seconds to go. They've got tons of room to the line, so they are almost even late at the pin here. The rest of the fleet just punching forward at the boat, and it looks like Luna Rosa, I see bow number 46 at the boat in the line with the best start from there. Platoon with a decent start to leeward of everyone at the boat, but again, it's sort of a middle position for those guys who don't know if it's going to work out. And then Azura down here winning the pin with some confidence, but nobody's around.
But are they far enough forwards to get across the fleet? That's the key question, Nick, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I almost expected them to just roll right into attack and just duck everybody right away, but usually the windward-most boat will tack on you then, so maybe they're seeing a little bit something different today and happy to stay above the fleet on the way to the right side on port. Interestingly,
complete change of strategy for Allegra. Allegra first to tack out to the right from the right of the group. Then Luna Rossa tacked as well by the looks of things on that shot from the helicopter.
Maybe a change of strategy, but maybe an intelligent one. I mean, these guys took some risks early on and they paid off, and now it's time to be a little bit more conservative. Those risky moves like that, you know, they don't always work, and you can't keep expecting them to work. So these guys
Jenny,
play it safe now.
how are Quantum looking off the line? Not too bad, but not brilliant.
They didn't have the best start. They are bow back on Platoon. In fact, they're tacking at the moment. It looks like they will cross Preventa just behind them, so they maybe have been holding out Platoon because Platoon is now going for the tack. Ultimately, Phoenix is tacking underneath him, and I think Azura now rolling into their tack as well. So that's almost the entire fleet onto port tack now, banging for that, heading for that far right corner. I think we're going to be close enough to the course, to the top right of land, that people will be heading that way.
So the right good just now for Sled. Sled has pretty much been their modus operandi through this regatta, starting towards the committee boat and getting it right early. And they're certainly in that mix on the right side along with Luna Rossa. Virtual showing us with Azura with a very small lead. But as you said, I think maybe Platoon, maybe they've listened to you, Jen, and got themselves off the line this time.
You know, let's hope so. I mean, being to the left of a pack like that when the pin is favored is a great spot to be, especially if you know everyone is going to attack and let you get to the right anyway. It's a harder spot if you know maybe the whole fleet doesn't know that the right's favored. But I'm not sure. It's looking good for Allegra out there, far right to my eye. Platoon good in the middle, and then as you guys said, Azura showing a slight lead on the leaderboard. But it's going to be about who can get in the groove now with this upwind, with the waves and the breeze. They came out here and everyone was training the hour before the start, and they were training in much less breeze and even less waves at the time. It was only about 15 knots, and it felt almost like flat water.
So, Jen,
this is more reminiscent of Monday.
So what's the key to getting in the groove then?
You know, it's cool. If you watch the boat from on board, you can see the main sheet trimmer sitting right next to the driver, and they're usually just having this conversation. Sometimes it's two ways, sometimes it's just one way from the main sheet trimmer, and it's about the waves, and it's about the boat speed, and it's about the angle. And so if you've got everything right, you've got the right boat speed and the right angle. And if you don't, if you're slow on boat speed, then you kind of need to bear away a little bit, ease the main a little bit, get up to boat speed, and then come back up to angle. And if you've got waves that are hurting you, then you get a slower boat speed, and you have to do exactly that. And it's a cycle. It's constantly a cycle on a sailboat, kind of like a seashell or a scallop going upwind. And the smaller you can make those angle changes and the quicker you can make that boat speed gain become an angle height gain, the better everyone is. And that's just constant sailing upwind. And in breeze, it's a much harder, well, I guess always it's a mental task, but in breeze it seems like a really hard task because the numbers can change so drastically. You're going so fast, and one wave can really slam down the backside, and you have to work all over at it again.
So Quantum pretty solid in third on Virtual just now. Nick, they can afford to be just a little bit conservative, can't they?
Yeah, well, that's we talked about that. You know, Terry Hutchison loves the conservative game, and you know, with a little bit of a lead, it's easy for them to just make sure they're in the pack and rely on their boat handling and boat speed to get them out of tough situations if they find themselves there.
Certainly weren't pushing it too hard off the line. And as you say, we spoke with Dean yesterday. He was saying that they felt their upwind speed has considerably improved. That was their weakness, he felt, earlier on in the season. Alongside Phoenix there. But Azura, their position on the left of the group really seeming to strengthen. If anything, lifting away from Platoon very slightly, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this time and again, right? That the port end boats sort of looking good early on, and then suddenly something changes 75% of the way through the upwind, and the right boats, come out on top. So Azura, hopefully looking to make this across on Alegre and Luna Rosa, those guys down to the right, and rounding this mark in first, but right side is strong, we know that.
How's it looking for you, Jenny?
Yeah, I would agree with that. It looks at this point like Alegre already has gotten into a bit of the right shift, and Azura is definitely still in the left shift. So it kind of depends on how far we have to ley line and whether Azura can stay in a lefty the whole time and then just gets to the right when it's time to tack, or whether they have to kind of sit in that righty a bit longer, and if so, then Alegre and the boats further down the pack gain. It's hard to tell from here. I mean, it looks like Luna Rosa might also be doing well down there. We were talking earlier about how those guys need to get back on track after a rougher day yesterday, and I think by starting second up from the boat, they were trying to do that at least. But for sure, Quantum has a little bit of a punch. Is there a little bit of a punch in Alegre? And it's just, getting in the groove for those main trimmers and those drivers, and kind of deciding when the time is to tack for the ley line later. I don't think we'll see as much of a tacking duel as we have seen out on that ley line side. I think it's kind of windy enough to just go for the one tack and then really get close to the mark later to see if you have to need to do a double tack.
So we're just on board there with Platoon, everything nice and settled.
Yeah, I was talking to the Phoenix main trimmer today, and about what works on the boats, trying to do some learning for my own sailing. But
it's Paul Wilcox, isn't it?
Yep, that's right. And so we had a little discussion about how it works, and I said, well, what controls are you changing? And he goes, well, the boats are pretty balanced.
Yeah, exactly.
So you actually don't have to change as much. As soon as it gets locked in and you've got the right communication going, there's
it's up to the helm, really, isn't it?
Yeah, there's not a whole lot that's being changed on these boats. So just all hiking.
So Azura looking strong still on this left side, but that lead is only 20 odd meters, 25 meters or something like that on Platoon. Two boats that started off the left side of the start line, profiting at the moment. I think Alegre have tacked on that right side. Not sure.
Yeah, Alegre's just gone for the tack, so the moment of truth between them and Luna Rosa. And actually, maybe it looks like Luna Rosa is going to be able to either cross or plan to leave out on Alegre. I think I'm seeing red sail across, in fact. So just going for the tack here. So I can't see how close that leave out is, but
looks quite close.
Luna Rosa had a bit better on Alegre than we thought. Yeah, and then
there we go.
Sled is clear across, in fact. So the middle left is paying better than that right side was. Sled's just crossed Luna Rosa, Alegre. Quantum is now crossing that pair as well. Platoon, who's high of weather of Quantum, is crossing easily all of them, and then Azura from here. So early left did pay for once.
Indeed. So let's see how that plays out, Nick, for Azura. By extension, they're looking pretty good.
Yeah,
the middle left seems to have gone quite well. Looking at Platoon relative to Quantum, and the boats to leeward, Alegre now not looking quite as sweet as they have in the previous two races.
Yeah, I mean, the early left working a little bit to our surprise, but maybe that has something to do with, the breeze changing.
Yeah.
They way right angle 30 minutes ago, and then it's maybe just sort of settling and less of a right advantage than we had thought. But definitely Allegre's sled, you know, looks like they're getting a little bit headed down there, and tough decisions to make.
But for sure, I think that Azura opened a little bit of gauge and platoon, suggesting there's been some left hand in the breeze as well. And again, it's like Jenny was talking yesterday about this zipper, the split in the breeze, where it is influenced by the headland up to weather. And I wonder whether Azura have got some of that. But it's pretty interesting there, Nick. Just watching platoon going up to Quantum.
Yeah, Quantum's not going to be happy with the position they're in right there.
No.
You know, sled putting the tack on the starboard, making them go away, and platoon in a really powerful spot, able to get a tight lee bow, and Quantum
and
might
meantime
be in trouble.
Azura crossing them and will cross sled, I think.
Yeah, or, can probably cross sled, but might even just tack in front just to cause a little bit more drama in the back of the fleet.
So guys, from here it looks like Azura's clean across by about five plus boat lengths. It's an impressive lead on the water. It's kind of the last minute. All right, we're going to leave the fleet here and bail towards the pin, accelerate hard, and give ourselves this leverage. If the pin is favored, then every boat length you get further away from the pack is a boat length gain you're going up with before the start. And I think that was a crucial moment, and then it gives them leverage for any lefty to be an even bigger advantage to those guys. And they've just tacked in front of the rest of the pack, and they've got a really decent margin. They'll be happy on board right now.
Interesting. Quantum then having to tack off from platoon. Won't be too happy with that.
No, and then having to give a duck on sled, and that's just all Azura looking back going, we're in the lead position. Let's see if we can put some damage on the boats doing well on the overall leaderboard.
So maybe we've cursed them a little bit, saying how they were in the box seat and what could possibly go wrong. But in the meantime, Azura in command of this race, the lead of 75, 80 metres, something like that, with most of the fleet lining up behind them now. It's a nice sight for Santiago Lang and the Azura guys. Did not have a good day yesterday at all.
Yeah, so just take a look at that big left shift that came out of there. Azura making pretty big gains there. We've lost them on the tracker, but we know they're pretty far ahead. And Luna Rosa gaining as well from it. Not what these teams expected, Andy.
No, I don't think so.
Maybe that opens up some options for these boats. Prevents Phoenix platoon down here to come in late at the port ley line.
Hoping for the same lefty,
yeah, it hasn't really worked so far, but maybe it could this time.
I think, to be fair, I think the lefty is further down the course, and I think as you converge to the windward mark, converging with the land, then I think that lefty would be less pronounced. However, kudos just now to Azura.
Yeah, we've seen lots of sort of bold last-minute calls to go down towards that pin end, and they always seem to work out. So maybe something that these tacticians should be keeping an eye on.
Keeping an open mind. So Jenny, how's it looking up to the weather mark?
There's not too much further to go. I don't think that Azura is ley line.
Yeah, Azura below ley line, I think.
Racing up there. Yeah, but it's only about a quarter of a mile at this point, so the lead that they have is pretty stable. The people that I'm underneath here, Phoenix and Prevetta, it's not necessarily looking good for them. I think they don't seem to have any hope on the rest
I
of
think
the fleet,
typically now you get into the righty and just looking at the breeze on the water, it's much more up and down, which is indicative of the effect of the land to weather of the windward mark. And that does tend to drag the breeze right. So
Well, we see that Cascais on the right usually until right at the top, and then sometimes if they've overstood a little bit or they've gotten too many tacks, had to do too many tacks based on other guys even no matter, that's the kind of final moment that teams from the left can make gains. So I think that's the assumption here I'm going to make is that Prevetta and Phoenix just keep carrying all the way up into that top left corner, and they hope that the other five out there play with each other a bit too much. I mean, Azura's running away with it at this point, but that's kind of the last chance for the guys on the left. And Platoon didn't really come out of that
Not
cross
brilliantly.
as well as I would have liked. Yeah, it seems
mean,
like they fell
considering they
out
had-
of the breeze
yeah.
on the right-hand side.
Absolutely. I mean, considering they had the lee bow on Quantum now up to ley line, and I think it'll probably be closer between the two of them at the windward mark than you might expect. But let's wait and see.
So much for my prediction. That's Provetsa going for the tack now to kind of get up into the middle of the fleet. I think possibly they were being affected a little bit by Phoenix. Maybe they just finally got a left shift that's allowing them across. Actually, Phoenix following with its tack here as well. So those two guys thinking is their one opportunity to get into the tack, and it's earlier than I would have liked to see them tack up, so they must have gotten some sort of left angle to take them across.
Yeah, it looks like a little bit of a left angle on the virtual, but also definitely a conservative move by two tacticians that used to sail together quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
You know, my dad and Tony. So knowing that they're thinking probably similar ways.
But Provetsa and Sled look quite close. Provetsa just behind. Sorry, Jenny, go on.
Yeah, not a duck there, just crossing behind. They do have Allegre. They've both crossed the bow of Allegre, so the bottom left still did work better than the bottom right. But they're tacking astern of Sled earlier. I think they're going for maybe what's a small... No, I'm going to look at... Actually, it doesn't look like a duck at all. It looks like they will have Luna Rossa and Quantum Racing, so Provetsa doing just fine out there on the far right boats. They're crossing, in fact, Luna Rossa and Quantum Racing. They are going to tack on ley line here, so giving them both bad air. Sled has tacked as well, so Sled will now probably give Provetsa a close lead out. And Phoenix, I can't see. Phoenix might be in the back of that pack, but that makes a much more interesting game plan. It meant that the middle left did work out, at least okay for Provetsa. Platoon just going into their tack now, and yeah, Azura, as the leaders, pick their moment to tack much closer to the ley line up here. A perfect time for them. They can check in on Sled's line and Quantum Racing's line and tack where they'd like for the top mark.
So looking like Quantum and Luna Rossa just a little bit above ley line in the end.
Yeah, it's not what they would have liked to have happen, and Phoenix also in a tough spot being forced to kind of tack underneath early.
Yeah.
They're not going to be very happy with that either.
But meantime, Jenny, Azura looking pretty special just now, coming up to the windward mark, the lead of about 70 metres over Sled. Better day for Platoon so far. Go on, Jen.
Yeah, I think this is probably the biggest lead we've seen of this regatta. Normally you can see leads like this in shifty and lighter air venues, and just to see a good 4 or 5 boat lengths there at the top mark for the first start mark. This is an impressive first leg, and it all came down to the start. As we said the other day with Allegra, and now today with Azura, that pin end start, if it works out, it can work out really, really beautifully. Behind them, Platoon going for a circle, so they went to lee bow Phoenix, and I think it just didn't work out, so that's their second circle in 12 hours, because if we remember, they fell last night at the end at the finish line, and that is going to be a painful moment for those guys, dropping from what was sort of third or fourth to now they're in last again, a position they're much too familiar with this regatta. But meanwhile, Azura with a great lead there, Mariano Caputo putting the Spinnaker out on the bow. Behind them, Sled just rounding for their second place. So far, they've had a bit of an up and down regatta, but I think a couple more ups than downs. Behind Sled, Provetsa nipping in for third place here, so a decent upwind there for Provetsa, and just getting able to nip Luna Rossa and Quantum, and then those two boats going very hard for fourth place. Luna Rossa rounding on the inside of Quantum Racing, just able to hold them off. And a little bit further back, Phoenix, they were able to come out of that situation with Platoon, and they're just holding off Allegra inside of them. I think they'll probably be able to roll over the top of Allegra as they round the mark. And poor Platoon finally in the mix, and it was just a little bit too close to be mixing it up, and they have done their penalty turn, and now they're back in a close ninth position, but ninth nonetheless.
So standard bear away set by the looks of things from everyone at the moment, Nick.
Yeah, not surprising to see them do that compared to doing the jibe set. Jibe set's a hard maneuver, and you saw the left work early on, and maybe still hold the angle all the way to the mark. So
Indeed, I think the pressure's offshore as well.
yeah, well, left shift means a starboard jibe is better downwind.
Yeah.
And so, you know, these guys are going to be sailing the headed jibe and getting towards the pressure.
So Quantum Racing coming round the top mark in fourth, in close proximity to Luna Rossa. But it's pretty solid. But Azura 8 points behind, I think, going in, or 7 points behind going into this race. And there's 3 boats between them just now. 4 boats, in fact. Luna Rossa just ahead of Quantum.
Yeah, well, lead doesn't go away in one race, Andy, so these guys.
Exactly,
but they're going to be pretty, you know, if they can keep this lead and keep Quantum in the middle of the fleet, they're going to be happy with that going into the next race.
You know, it's an interesting downwind here, you guys. The starboard angle the other day was the angle where you could really ride the waves and surf the waves, and today it's a much shorter angle to the ocean swell. So I think once we see the teams jibe, for now they've just got the waves kind of side to side.
Across them, yeah.
Once we get them jibe, we'll see whether they're actually surfing faster than the waves or riding the waves. I think it's not quite as windy as we were seeing at the start. Now it's back down to about maybe 15 or 16 knots. So it's probably more of a swell riding situation than an over the top.
Well, we did see Platoon in this condition on the first day make big gains in the downwind, so maybe they've got something in them again.
Yeah, I think I talked to both John Cascais and Cheese about that today. I think that was just, they were the only boat to do one jibe that day. You know, I was trying to say that you guys are fast in the downwinds, and do you think there's opportunities there today? And the answer was, yeah, well, that day that happened, we just jibed once, and everyone else jibed a lot more times than that. And I think they don't necessarily think they're slow. And then the second race, of course, we saw a lot of other teams wipe out, and Platoon never did. So there's that. But these aren't really wipeout conditions yet today. These are actually 4 boats have just jibed there, and they were all beautiful, easy jibes. And now they're onto the other jibe where actually it looks a lot nicer on these waves. You can see Azura's bow suddenly out and easily planing, and Sled behind them actually struggling a little bit on the waves, and it's giving some opportunities here for Provetza and Luna Rossa. I think, just didn't have a great job, weren't able to get up to speed afterwards, maybe didn't quite heat it up enough, and if you have the wrong angle and you don't get up to speed quickly and someone else does, it can be a big, big loss.
So everyone jibing here looks like on our virtual just above ley line, but maybe they're expecting a shift that's going to take them down. I mean, jibes are not fast, but it's all about where you're placing yourself way down the line.
And the pressure, or you'd imagine, will build slightly as you get down towards the gate. Shot there of Sled.
They're assuming it might keep building, or hope that it keeps building. You'd rather understand just a touch to do one more jibe than overstand and sail in hot. Sled has recovered from whatever that slow moment was. They've got Bree sort of clear forward of that pack outside of them, and they're making what appear to be really big gains on Azura at the moment. Actually, Azura, just as we're speaking, are easing their kite a lot more than they previously had, but they're trying to match Sled, and it just looks now like they're able to match Sled's speed. Just behind them is a little luffing duel between Provetza and Luna Rossa, and I think Provetza actually, they've just gotten rolled by Luna Rossa. Spediker just collapsing here on Provetza, so an unfortunate moment for those guys, not quite able to hold them off.
So Sled got into Azura very slightly, but that's still a pretty healthy lead, Nick, isn't it?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, we've got Azura is always. We've seen this happen in every race, basically. That the leaders sort of are easily able to sail away because it's such a speed venue, and if you get some other boats, you can make the boats go fast. Quantum definitely looking to reel in a couple of boats. They've got their eyes on Provezza and Luna Rossa up there, hoping that the low road's going to make it count here, and they can either pass on the downwind or get a split around the gate that could work in their favor. But they're not happy that Azura is winning this race.
Absolutely not. And more to the point, there's 3 boats between them and Azura. But likewise, Allegre down in 6th. Had a share of 2nd going into this race. So Luna Rossa looked pretty quick down this run, Jen.
You know, Luna Rossa and Azura both look to be easing their spinnakers much more than the 2 boats around them. We saw Azura do that big ease earlier and switch gears a little bit, and they actually, I think, then went a touch hotter to sort of protect against the 2 boats behind. But if you just look at the profiles, it looks like Luna Rossa's got the same and almost even a more twisty main
Of
for
course,
sure
they have
than...
yeah.
Apologies. I'm looking at Provezza, not
dear.
Luna Rossa. So Provezza has the easiest, has the most easy spinnaker, or most twisty main of the group. And maybe that's just in hindsight after they got rolled by Luna Rossa. They've been protecting. But I think both of those boats have kind of infringed a bit on Azura, so Azura's gone up to protect just slightly, and Sled unfortunately fell out the back. They got somehow influenced by the other 2, or just maybe weren't quite able to sail as quickly on this last little bit, but big losses here to Sled.
But yeah, Luna Rossa and Azura share the same sail designer, but Luna Rossa have a problem just now with the halyards, just slipped.
I'm not sure that they even know that that's happened.
Oh, they know it happened, don't worry. Boat just dropped 3 knots in boat speed, and Provezza's looking at him like, where do we go? They'll get it right back
It's
up.
getting
That's
back
just a
up slowly, yeah.
slip on the
halyard,
cleat.
yeah.
Cleat came undone and get it back
It has
up.
cost them, yeah. The disc kite is emptied and Provezza coming back at them.
It's almost a lucky time for that to happen, because if Provezza goes outside of them like that, the next move is a drive. So
Yeah,
either way, Provezza can't really get around them. They're sort of a roadblock. So if it had happened earlier, they would have gone around them over the top and rolled, and instead here Luna Rossa going into the drive at this exact moment. So you never want that to happen, but that's about the only time that they weren't going to lose horribly out of it. They did, though, lose to Sled behind. I think Sled just able to jive inside now. And
Great shots of Azura coming down at us, yeah.
Yeah, down towards the bottom marks, and they will round this left mark and turn towards the left side, looking upwind. I'm going to assume Sled's doing the same. They're lined up for that, and then the question is whether Luna Rossa, squeezed in the middle as the piggy in the middle, is going to pick which way to go. I think it's easier to just go straight in.
So just looking at Azura coming round the gate, really slick drop, but a little bit of action to get the kite down the hatch in the end. But good work, Nick, isn't it?
Oh yeah, well we know these guys have great boat handling.
Yeah. But it looks like Sled may get in second.
It's nice to see the racecourse be a little bit more open, Andy. I mean,
Yeah,
these
yeah,
guys
completely.
Not all rounding the same gate and going the same direction.
So Sled round in second at the top mark. Luna Rossa up to third just now.
So able to shut Provezza out inside.
Yeah, absolutely.
So good save by those guys on the halyard drop.
Provezza looking a little bit untidy, even relative to Luna Rossa, and then Quantum coming round next, Jenny.
Yeah, I'm impressed with Luna Rossa's ability to actually pull off that mark rounding. I think Provezza probably had room inside, and they just couldn't get there. So the best move for Luna Rossa to have clear air was not to follow Sled on this side, but to go to the right, and it worked out beautifully. This side, Quantum Racing. Far side now, Platoon with a very wide jibe around the mark and chasing just behind them. Allegre will make big gains here, being a lot tidier around this mark rounding. Platoon still ragging their sails as they get up to the bottom mark, and then Phoenix, I think a little bit of a loss there for Phoenix into the 9th spot now after this bump downwind. So Platoon with the best downwind catching up after their penalty turn at the top. They were in 9th and now they moved up to 7th place.
So what's Azura's strategy up this beat, Nick? It's just keep it tight and loose cover on the fleet.
Well, there's 2 guys on board basically deciding the strategy, and they're not going to share it with the team. They're just going to tell them to look at the keel. And they're going to probably go as
hike
all
like
the way
hell
out to that right side and just go fast. I mean, these guys, it's not even really a management thing. It's almost extend your lead at this point. There's not a lot of threat for them.
The breeze is right up, isn't it? We saw the great shot of Azura coming into the leeward gate at full chat. Probably 22 knots of breeze, something like that just now.
Quantum actually looked like they had a bit of an issue getting their jib in all the way there.
Yeah, maybe. Here's a question for us from Jack on YouTube. Is there a potential for the 52 Super Series to come to New Zealand? I think anything is possible. I know that the outlook of the fleet is to try and be a little bit more international, and there is certainly the possibility of moving regattas and the circuit to where there are a number of TP52s racing, for example. So, but it's certainly not planned in the next 2 to 3 years, I don't think. But that's not. It's not. Nothing's impossible for the long-term future. It's about where the owners want to race and where the boats exist. I know, for example, there's a little bit of a renaissance with the 52s in the east coast of the States. But looking at Azura, look really good.
Yeah, those guys definitely like it. Up range in the breeze, wind speed. But Quantum, pretty happy here. Start coming from that 5th place position now up to 3rd on our virtual.
They seem to be giving Luna Rossa a race anyway. How does this beat look? It's still, the left still looks quite strong, doesn't it, Jenny?
Well, we are on the left. It does look to me, though, like there's more pressure on the right-hand side. We had that huge puff roll down kind of right as everyone was getting up to the bottom marks, and then the first quarter of this upwind. And now the breeze is moderating just a little bit out here on the left, but Phoenix has just gone for attack, so they might think this is the furthest left angle they're going to see. I don't think to me it looks like Phoenix will have made any gains on the rest of the pack, and I'm not really sure how Quantum made those gains on Prevetta and Luna Rossa. It could have just been slightly tidier boat handling around the mark and getting up to speed closer and sooner around those marks.
Yeah, boat handling, it seems like it's such a small part of the race course because you've got, 1 jibe, maybe 2 tacks and setting the douse, but it makes a big difference, especially getting the boats going and not just getting back up to speed, but also getting the water flow over the keel and generating lift right away. It can make 50 meters of a difference whether you have a good drop or a bad drop or more.
But certainly kudos to Sled in the meantime, hanging in there in second at a good first beat. And seemed to be nice and quick downwind. Lying 4th on the leaderboard, 5 points behind Allegre and Azura. And have been on the podium at both of the first regattas of the season. and certainly making their challenge here in Cascais to make it 3 in a row. They have Allegra in 7th just now.
Yeah, Sled doing a great job this season so far, and maybe, I don't know if Quantum keeps doing so well and they sort of extend their lead over full regatta, then some of the other teams might start thinking about the overall season, and Sled's going to be one of those teams.
Oh, for sure.
Of overall
I
results.
Certainly, I think Sled pretty consistent for a podium position for the season. I think this is a fairly significant regatta in terms of the overall for the season. I think we're seeing Quantum just moving ahead.
Yeah, Luna Rossa able to get ahead of Quantum and put attack in them, making them go further out to the left side. So not as much of a gain as we had seen on virtual before, so maybe a little bit of a right shift there, or good tack by Luna Rossa, or whatever it is. Luna Rossa is going to be happy with that outcome. Platoon now on starboard, looking at them on board, hoping that they can get back across Allegre. Preveza, they did gain quite a bit on the downwind and passing 2 boats, and looking to push forward for more.
So I say Luna Rossa's roller coaster regatta back on the upswing after yesterday and day 1.
So far, yeah, that halyard drop could have been more disastrous than it did.
Yeah.
It's a really, really good response by their crew, and nice awareness, good save, keeps them a couple points. They didn't even lose the place.
They didn't.
If anything, they ended up gaining on Preveza overall because they forced Preveza to have a difficult rounding behind them.
Yeah.
Now Preveza getting pushed out to the side they probably don't want to be on. But for the first time this week, Andy, we're seeing these teams, starboard boats crossing port boats and not tacking in front every time.
Yeah.
So maybe a little bit more of an open race course, Jen. What do you see out there?
I would agree with that. I think also it's a lot windier again, so that Monday racing comes to mind where it was a bit more play your own game and spread out. And it's often if you can't tack on your competitor because of a wave, then you sort of let them go, and then the placement isn't right to tack in the next flat spot, so you just play your own game all together instead. I think on this race course, the team that's going to be kicking themselves the most is Allegra. We talked about how they'd won the pin sort of the last 2 races, and it had meant 2 podiums, 1 first and 1 third. And I
they
think
chose
for them
not to go for 3 in a row.
Up their game plan. Yeah, we talked about having that hard reset, erase your memory for Platoon, but I didn't actually want Allegra to do the same, and it looks like they totally did. They went through the pin, we'll start at the boat and head to the right, and now I think they're going to see Azura winning this race by a mile, and they're going to be going, what did we just do? Why? But anyway, they're trying to make it work on this left side. They're the furthest left at the moment, and I just don't know that there's enough out here for them to come back with.
Well, the funny thing is Azura, here learning from Allegre's strengths and using that same strategy, while Allegre maybe going towards the conservative side and doing a play that we know has worked all week, and then for the first time didn't work. So they're probably wondering, why did that happen? Why didn't that work? Because that start is the start that Sled's been doing in almost every race, and Sled's been doing just fine in the event.
But it hasn't ever really been a winner either. I don't think anyone's actually won the top mark from that boat position yet. Honda, if you're listening, we're telling you every single game plan for how to win this race course. Win the pentac early. But yeah, I think you're right. Sled's done a good job of being up there and being able to pull it off. But it isn't necessarily the easiest spot to play, and I think it's just a factor of this race course if they're favoring the pin so much. Then to get to the right, you're 5 boat lengths behind the guys with the pin who get to the right about the same time.
Well, you're right, it's not a winner, but it is, in my view, a conservative move. You see Sled, Lunarosa, and Quantum basically all coming from that side in this race. And yeah, the leader, Azura, coming from the pin end, but
that has been a little.
Boats coming from the right
I mean,
side.
I think in generally that's been the pattern. The lead boat, or occasionally the top 2 boats have come from the left off the pin, but generally the 3, 4, and 5 have come off the right end, off the committee boat end, and got right fairly easy early, either getting out to ley line or just under it and having the early advantage.
So yeah, sometimes
it'd be interesting to see if we had 3 boats or 4 boats trying to go off the pin. That would be that would be an entirely different
then it
different
work.
game. Exactly. But it's always been 1 boat or 2 boats, and then that gap or an opening up to the real group at the committee boat end. So still close then between Luna Rossa and Quantum Racing. A little bit of match racing going on between the 2 America's Cup teams.
Yeah, Lunarosa always taking the right side there and putting the attack onto Quantum on port. So that's the choice you have. You get to be on somebody's breeze on one tack, not both. And you gotta choose which side you think is better. Lunarosa thinking the right side's better and pushing Quantum to the left, which doesn't always work. Sometimes you push one of the boats the wrong way and they gain on you. But nice overview of the fleet. The difference in this course, you see there's not a big stack of boats already on the starboard ley line like we've seen in the past. So a little bit more open and a little bit more tactical, maybe a little bit more speed, being able to put you in different situations, put these tacticians in different situations. And
so in terms of the standings after this race, if the positions stayed the same, then we'd have Quantum on 15, Azura on 19, and Sled would move up ahead of Allegra onto 3rd step on the podium on 25. But that's as things stand at the moment. Still a fair bit of racing still to go, Nick.
yeah, for sure. And Allegra here, I mean, we've seen teams. Lunarosa yesterday, it was the coastal race, so more open, but
I think there's still gains to be made down this final run.
Sure, yeah. Platoon,
and indeed coming into the top mark.
Right. And so Allegra probably frustrated with the strategy they thought was going to put them in the middle of the fleet and be conservative, and now finding that it was pretty risky, in fact. And but maybe now looking for opportunities to gain. Maybe even happy to take a little bit of risk here.
Indeed, and of course it's a 2-race day, and so they can push the risk again in the second race, and that's going to be interesting to see how the fleet lines up on the start line in light of this race.
Yeah, well, the trick to say on risky strategies is that your risk isn't always going to pay off. So if you start off doing it right away and it's not paying off, then you got to
need a plan B.
Well, you actually got to keep doing it, because eventually it will pay off. But if you get a couple of bad races and then go to the conservative mode, then you're just taking a loss. So these guys, the risk paying off for them, and now going to conservative mode and taking a big loss. I'd like to see them continue to be conservative, but maybe put a few more points, or get fewer points in this race than they're going to get right now.
Yeah. So a good race though for Azura. Azura really have not had a good season so far, although they did win the training regatta back in early May in Palma Vela. They were in good shape then, and then the first 2 regattas of the season, first of all in Šibenik, really did not go as well as expected. They were 4th, and then in Zadar they finished 7th, and both times their second and third races were both big scores in the shifty conditions in Croatia, but this has been much better for them, and as you were saying, Nick, conditions they feel much more comfortable in a venue they know well. think this is the 4th time that the 52s have raced here. First time we've raced a World Championship here.
Yeah, but these guys have shown,
completely.
every year that they're good in this breeze and fast, good boat handling. So they definitely are liking the uprange breeze, wind speeds. But the one thing about being so far in first is that you can't sort of
learn from the strategy.
No, you can't influence the fleet behind you when you're this far away. If they were a little bit closer, they could be hitting Quantum a little bit harder, and maybe trying to get Preveza ahead.
So Jen, we've got Azzurro just coming around the top mark with that healthy lead. Talk us round the mark.
Yeah, they're going for the barrier around the top mark. I don't actually think they've extended any on this upwind, really. I thought earlier maybe that they have, and I think in the last little bit here, Sled just managed to pull back up. But a decent lead to carry them into the final downwind of this race. I think a lead you would be happy with, knowing you have good boat handling and good boat speed on the downwind. And perhaps we could say the same for Sled. I mean, Sled was in the fight, in the mix on the last downwind. For sure, there were moments where they were behind Luna Rosa and maybe even Preveza. So for Sled to get back into second right before that bottom mark, that was a huge moment. And to be able to round the top mark here in second with a good 3 boat length lead against Luna Rosa, it's going to be making them feel much better and a little bit safer than last time around. Then behind Sled, Luna Rosa coming in for 3rd position here. They had that great fight with Preveza at the bottom marks that after they lost their kite halyard. So bringing it back and even extending really well here over Preveza, that's good for those guys as well. Preveza then coming in 4th position. I think they've lost just a touch to Quantum Racing. Quantum Racing only now about a boat length and a half off the stern of Preveza. And then behind Quantum Racing, Platoon trying to make have more action, but not really being able to pull it in. So Quantum Racing rounding into 6th. Into 5th. Platoon into 6th here. And just behind Platoon is Phoenix and Allegra. So Allegra really not able to make anything else to move up 8th, but there's still a long downwind to go. We're in sort of a down period of phase of the breeze again, so back down to almost 15, maybe even 14 knots on the course. So not going to be a wild and crazy ride on the downwind, but means there's some opportunities to pass.
That's right. With the breeze, we do see the breeze build as you get down the course and away from the influence of the land. That should be to the advantage of the leaders. So we're on board there with Allegra in 8th, setting up for their hoist.
Everybody's straight setting again on this downwind, still different than what we saw.
I'm sure that there's still the pressures on that right side looking downwind coming from the point.
Right, well, the hard part is going to be for these teams to decide, when the right's going to start paying big time again, like it has been. And maybe Allegra deciding that they're the first ones that are going to try it with a drive set here.
Yeah, looks like it, doesn't it? And why not? You're talking about playing the risk reward, pushing it a little bit.
Oh yeah. Here's their risk. But it's not much of a risk. They basically have nothing to lose, Andy. And sometimes if you stay close to the boats right in front of you, you can put enough pressure on them. They make a mistake and you pass them. But sometimes the best way is just go to the opposite side of the course and hope for a shift.
See who comes with you.
Yeah, right. Well, I know that on board Phoenix, that's what they're thinking. They're trying to do is get low on Platoon here, see if they can jump them and just out boat handle the boat in front. Is sometimes the best way to pass, but for teams like Allegra, a little bit further behind, and maybe they're looking for more than one boat too.
So Jenny, looking just a little bit lighter in this run than the previous one, as we're watching Azzurro going into their jibe, textbook jibe, more or less.
Beautiful textbook jibe. The body's a bit further forward on the boat because it is, as we were saying, a much lighter period in the breeze right now. It's just been phasing up and down, and the phases, I think, are lighter than any of us would have expected. This down to 14, 15 knots, and earlier what we saw when we came out. But I guess it just wasn't able to build as much as we had thought this morning. So we'll probably see it back up to 20 at moments, but we're not in the 20 now, and it makes the drive much easier, you know, and that makes that final call to look at the bottom marks a little easier for the tactician as well, because you can drive early, and you can say, if there's breeze later, we'll be able to bear away and make it, and if there's not breeze later, well, the drive's really easy. So if you're a 49er sailor and this is the scenario, and you know it could be 25 knots, that's a really nice time to make that same decision. Oh, it'll be easy to drive later if it stays light, and if it gets windy, well, we'll just bear away down the course. And we've actually just seen Azura get a tiny bit more pressure here. The rest of the fleet, though, driving behind them, I think are bringing the pressure down, and it looks really good at the moment for Provenza kind of in the middle there.
So couple of quick questions as we go down here, Nick. One question from Stefano on Twitter, just asking, as the leading boat approaches the ley line downwind, what can they do to protect against the fleet behind them?
Approaching the ley line downwind. For the first jibe. I mean, it's
or essentially, what do Azura have to do to protect against any of the boats from behind, I guess?
Right. So your breeze is a mixture of the true wind angle and then your apparent wind angle. So it's going to be actually further in front of the boat, more like a broad reach for these guys as opposed to downwind. So you're trying to keep your breeze in front of the boat behind when you both jibe. And so all you can do on the starboard jibe is just get as low as possible. So all these boats, as soon as they come straight set out of there, they're just soaking as low as possible, and probably dropping 3 knots on the boat speed, target boat speed, but really gaining angle downwind so that when they jibe, they can be in front of everybody with their breeze in front of the guys behind on port.
So nice action shot on board the platoon. Platoon still in 6th. Their next target is Phoenix. Phoenix to the right, looking downwind. Sorry, to the left.
Phoenix went for the early jibe here on platoon and hoping for that pressure that Jenny was talking about to maybe get them towards the finish line. And Allegra coming back here on starboard. Close with platoon, so could be an interesting situation with them, whether Allegra decides to jibe in front or just force platoon to jibe. We'll see.
So on board with the Azura, same as last time. As you get down the course, then very definitely the breeze picks up, and interesting to watch. Earlier on, just watching Guillermo Parada using the waves just out of that jibe, how he was running down the waves and then coming back as he started to lose pressure.
Yeah, well, like we said, boat handling, it seems like you do 1 or 2 jibes, but a good jibe surfing along the wave the whole time can be a 3 or 4 boat length gain. And that's one of the ways that you can really, 3 or 4 boat lengths at the right time, Andy, it could mean 5 or 6 places if it determines the tactical situation. So I think we've lost Quantum on our tracker. Jenny, can you give us an update as to where they are?
If I can find them on the race course, I can give you an update. Yeah, okay. So Azura still leading by miles. Provenza, I think, looking good to be making gains in that big puff on the inside. Phoenix just behind Provenza. Luna Rosa in the middle of the course with sled to leeward. And sort of 5 boat lengths back of Luna Rosa in a line or in the triangle between them and sled is Quantum Racing. So still somewhere in the 4th to 5th range, depending on where Provenza drives in here. But everyone's got much more speed now, much more breeze, as you can see. Guys going back hard in the back of the boat, and it's lovely. I'm not sure what your shots are on right now, but it's really lovely watching Azura from afar. There's a lot of action in the spinnaker trim here. So big eases, big trims, definitely trying to ride these waves, or even sometimes right over the top of these waves here in the pass. And it's going to be a lot of hard work for the grinders on board.
Yeah, well, it's always funny to watch these guys go downwind in sort of the pile of people in the back of the boat trying to keep the bow out of the water as the boat's just planing, screaming downwind, going really fast. I mean, I've only done it once, sailed in breeze in these boats, but it is very, very fun.
Oh yeah, it's a blast. We trained for about 6 months in Hawaii in a 52, and it was just it was like this every day. Windy, warm, best you could ask for, and I think that's what these guys are really enjoying this week and why they made the Worlds here in Cascais. It's just a beautiful venue for sailing, and to know that you can have breeze like this and conditions like this almost every day, it's delightful. So we've just gotten down into position near the finish line here as they're going in for their last jibe about 10 boat lengths ago, and it's not their best jibe actually. The kite took a little bit longer to fill than.
Certainly they are pointing at the finish and accelerating it out of that jibe, and still have a pretty healthy lead over Sled, who in turn are up on Luna Rossa. So Azura coming through the finish line to win. That will be their second win of the regatta of the World Championship, and in fact their second win of the season. Just looking at Bruno Zarilli there with a little ponytail navigator on the back of the boat. Santi Lang looking back as well. A little bit of relief on his face, I think.
Just checking the overall picture here, and
just see who's who and who's where.
Yeah, Prevetsa making a good gain, staying ahead of Quantum. Azura's going to be happy about that. Sled pushing low over Luna Rossa here, so that's probably going to be the finishing order for them. Sled, Luna Rossa, Prevetsa, and the real battle is actually between these last three boats. Maybe Phoenix, Allegre, Platoon are all pretty close. But big soaks into the finish for these guys. I mean, you see everyone coming off the rail, and the kite's going way out.
So Sled coming through for second. Luna Rossa not too far behind.
No, it was actually closer than you'd expect. Prevetsa also having to shoot the line down there. You can see them way kite out, way main out, trying to stay ahead of Quantum. Quantum crossing the line now, and Phoenix also big soak to take it over Platoon and Allegre. So good gain for Phoenix on that downwind, and Platoon, big shoot down by Allegre now. Looks like they got it. They were coming in with a ton of speed. Must have been a bit overlaid, but that was an awesome shoot down on the finish line right there to get in front of Platoon. So still action in the back of the fleet, and some cool stuff to watch on this downwind. I mean, great shots. These guys looked like they were having a lot of fun. Breeze back up, but always fighting this fleet. That's why it's so exciting to watch this fleet, is that, a lot of racing, the second half of the race is not much of a race. Not for these guys. So
good result for Azura. Quantum Racing not quite as good with their fifth there, I think, through the line. So that's the results of race number 6. Windward Leeward, Azura winning, Sled second, Luna Rossa third, Prevetsa fourth, Quantum Racing fifth, Phoenix sixth, Platoon seventh, and Allegra in 8th. So good race for Azura, Nick. Not so good for Quantum. There's the standings overall. Quantum now only 3 points ahead of Azura. Azura open up a gap to Sled, who are on 25, Allegra 26, Luna Rossa 28. So these three boats, 3rd, 4th and 5th, very, very close indeed. And then down to Prevetsa, Phoenix, Platoon and Onda. And some stats, Nick, putting you on the spot. What do you see?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised to see Azura going faster and
max
less distance than everybody else. Yeah, so considerably less distance for Azura, and
that's an interesting though, because Sled were fastest the other day as well for max speed, 23.48 knots, quickest today.
Yeah, but you see, so some of these guys, they push a little bit harder, higher on the downwinds, lower on the upwinds, and there's always more
Luna Rossa 16 tacks and jibes.
Right, and Quantum 18. So
Quantum 18, so that tells a little bit of a story.
Of course. Yeah, for sure, it tells a story. Azura, Sled, both getting away clean on the line. Phoenix tacking into a good spot for them. But the other guys maybe in tougher situations tactically and needing to make more maneuvers, and that really puts the pressure on them to go fast and sail less distance on other areas of the course.
So Azura putting the pressure on Quantum Racing going into this second race. Food just coming on board and drink coming on board. A chance to quickly debrief. as is the case on board all of the different boats. And I wonder whether Azura can maintain this momentum into the second race. Allegra need to come back from that result, Nick. And Quantum Racing perhaps needs to take a little bit more risk, or what do you think?
No, I mean, I would keep doing the same thing if I
Exactly,
were them,
yeah.
and just let Azura go and take the pin end like that. It's going to work once, and then they're going to get an 8th the next time. So Quantum's still
You
in a strong
reckon?
spot, even if the points are closing a little bit. And so maybe they're feeling the pressure, and maybe they're not. Who knows?
Here. Anyway, we're going to take a break just now. Join us for the second race of the day, and fabulous racing conditions. Breeze expected to build even more for the next race. Join us again very shortly at the Rolex TP52 World Championship. Welcome back to Cascais then, to the Rolex TP52 World Championships. Just had a great race, and the good news from the race course, you may say 20's plenty. Well, there's 23, 25 knots on the race course, and a real hardcore second race for the day. Azura showing great form, winning that race. Quantum now only 3 points ahead, and all the action about to come. Jenny Tulloch, how's it looking on the water?
You know, it is glorious. It is everything that the forecast had this morning and more. We definitely have 23 solid knots of breeze on the water, good waves, well underneath it. So it is going to be an epic second race of the day.
It's all about execution, isn't it?
You know, it absolutely is. And I think it's about execution on the start line, most of all in the bottom kind of third of this first upwind beat, and then it's going to be about the downwinds and the jives. And I think we haven't seen it be this windy since Monday afternoon, and we definitely saw some of the teams not quite able to pull off their jives, the wipeouts afterwards, or wipeouts just slightly down the track after a jive. So I think that's something we want to keep our eyes on. But for sure now, with just a minute 45 to go, the teams are thinking about executing their starts as best they can.
Yeah, Nick, your thoughts at a minute and 40?
Well, everyone sets up on port, and they're just trying to find their spots in the fleet here. So whoever is going to be able to get away. I mean, we saw that last time, Azura just getting away from the fleet, and it makes a huge difference. So
Quantum lining up a little bit more towards the left end of the group, in company with Azura by the looks of things, Jen.
Yeah, Quantum actually has Luna Rosa just to their windward side. They're going to struggle to pull off this start. It's a minute 15, and they're already far down towards the pen. We know the current's pushing downwind as well a little bit, and I think we might see Quantum have to double tack up later on. They've got Luna Rosa just to windward of them, though, so it'll be a really hard ask. Azura then on the far side is actually still on port, is going for what's going to be more like a boat end of the line. In fact, they're still on port, continuing even further past the fleet. So last time they separated from the fleet and the pen, this time maybe the opposite. This is Quantum Racing bearing away, going for their tack up. They were not going to lay from that position. So they've gone onto port. We could see if Luna Rosa possibly defend. No, they look like they were going to defend, but they're not. So they're hanging here. I think Luna Rosa can pull off that start with 30 seconds to go, but Quantum for sure needs to go for that hole underneath Preveza, and they are going for it now, and it's going to be a difficult ask for Dean Barker to get in there, but they're going nonetheless, packing in 18, 17 seconds to go. Azura all by their own up on the boat in the line. Luna Rosa looking good here for the 10 seconds to go. While everyone's accelerating, Preveza very close to the line, might be early here. 5 seconds to go. Preveza bow down. Luna Rosa bow down. And I think, I don't know, a lot of the fleet pushing this line. So perhaps we'll see an individual recall. We'll have to wait and see.
Nice start from Luna Rosa, though, Nick.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we've seen the pin end work, but like you said, Andy, in the last race, the pin end works when there's no other boats around.
But this time we have Quantum just to weather, but they're bow forward on Quantum and should be able to impose themselves on Quantum should they choose to do.
Oh, it's a great start for sure, and you're seeing all these guys bow down, and Pin is definitely favored.
Fantastic images. Look at that. Not a bad start from Platoon also. Arm Ruler Spear getting off the line. In fact, Quantum under pressure from the start line from the Italian America's Cup team on Luna Rosa. Nice shot there with Platoon nice and high. You can see the bow of Azura just to weather of Platoon.
Yeah, I mean, great shot
just
there.
in a little bit of a sandwich, aren't they? And what a shot.
Yeah, you can see that the boat's gaining a little bit here, a little bit there on these big waves, and then dropping right back. So it's all a boat speed game off the line right now, and whoever can gain the most is going to be pretty happy as they come up to the windward mark.
Yeah, so what about Luna Ross's position there? What do you think of that?
Oh, great spot. I mean, these guys really climbing on Quantum here, going very fast. So it's really breezy out there, and you can
see
tell
Dean Quantum just trying to keep the bow high in the waves, and that's not easy.
Well, these boats have really close tacking angles, so it's going to be really tough for Quantum to get out of this position. And that's the risk of starting at the pin. If you have a bad start, there's not a lot of options to get out, and you just lose.
And it's so marginal, you'd hardly call that a bad start, would you? It's just a matter of half a metre, and suddenly they're in a sandwich they can't get out of. And Luna Rossa really starting to hurt them. Azura have tacked across, so have Platoon. Jenny, what's your reading of it just now?
You know, I'm impressed with how long Quantum's been able to hold in what is a really, really bad position. I mean, they're directly on the stern of Luna Rossa, and they're underneath Provezza. And for a moment there, they even started to pull bow out on Provezza. And just finally, recently, it looks like Luna Rossa is getting the better of them, but they're still not giving an inch. And I think that's what they have to do in this position. They don't want to bear away hard and then tack and duck all of these boats. They'd rather just wait for the fleet to win them to attack. And Phoenix has just tacked. There's 2 more that they're waiting for, but that's a really impressive job both by Dean Barker and the trimmers to kind of hold that lane when there isn't really a lane to be holding.
That's right, and that sled just having tacked across, not so good in the off this start line. Got some work to do. What do we think of Azura over on that right side just now, Nick?
Well, Azura's going to be really happy with that, and you saw they had the best start. Sled trying to tack and duck them, and Azura went right on top. So Sled actually not with that bad of a start, but because Azura put a plant on them, it's a little bit worse for them, and they're just hoping that the right side is going to work this time.
Allegra then rolling into their attack. The door starting to open a little bit for Quantum.
Yeah, we're probably going to see Provezza follow closely behind Allegra here.
And Platoon.
And then that's going to give Quantum a... So here goes Luna Rossa through their attack. Allegra's already gone over, and now Quantum's going to have a free lane, the one they were looking for. So nice job on Quantum to hang on there until it was worked out a little better for them.
Yeah. You talk about a slim lane.
Right, very slim, but the one difficulty is that holding that whole time, you don't lose 2 boat lengths by having to tack and duck, but maybe it's losing more by being on this left side.
Certainly liking this left anyway, and there they go.
Oh, it's looking good right now.
Interesting, Quantum doing what Zura did in the previous race pretty much in terms of positioning up this beat.
Yeah, well, more
and
like
Azura doing the exact opposite, so a funny old world.
Well, like we said, the question for the strategists, tacticians on these boats was going to be when is the right side going to start kicking in and when is that benefit going to come? Azura certainly thinking that it's going to be earlier than boats like Luna Rossa, Quantum, who are going to take the line bias and hope the left side holds.
But in terms of the big picture, it's nice that they take completely different options and are not drag racing each other. Makes for great sport. And Luna Rossa nicely in the mix. Great start from them.
Yeah, great start by Luna Rossa, and you just see with a lot of speed off the line and great tactical position, you get just that extra half a boat length in front of everybody, and you're just going to see them continue to gain as they get speed and don't have to worry about the boats around. They're going to be pretty happy with that by the time they get to the top mark.
So we're on board with the Provezza. Very flat-sided cockpit, very open cockpit, and very flat deck compared to the other boats.
This is probably the most even start we've seen all week, with all the boats basically bow to bow here, and
Completely
nothing in it with anybody except for maybe Sled a little bit further behind.
So close between Luna Rossa and Quantum. Provezza, Allegra. So this left side good just now, Jenny. How's it looking with you?
We haven't really seen the bows go down yet, so we're still in what are the remains of the normal breeze out here on the race course. It does look like maybe on the far side, Azura and Sled are starting to get into that righty. So I think last race, the first upwind, the left kind of avoided that righty altogether, and that's why Azura was able to cross everybody and then tack onto what was a decent starboard tack later on. And so here, it's Quantum and Luna Rossa, if they are able to do the same, if they're able to, maybe this race course is just a tiny bit further offshore and they never get into the right ship, and it could be looking really, really good for this left side.
Yeah, well, like we saw last race, Allegra was out there on the right side, got the big header, but nobody else got it. And Allegra attacking back on the lift, starboard tack lift, but then sailing right back into the left angle, left pressure. So we'll see if that happens again. Azura hopefully, very much hoping that doesn't happen and that
Just
everybody
getting a
hits the
little
right
bit
side.
of a little bit of a header for Sled on the overhead in the virtual there, perhaps, but not too much evidence of it there. But relative to the boats to the extreme left, they're sailing just a smidge higher, perhaps.
Yeah, well, you are seeing those right-hand boats make a gain on the virtual now, and definitely bows down just a little bit more.
Particularly Sled, yeah.
Hoping that all of the boats on the left side are going to get that same header and same little bit lighter breeze.
Meantime, Phoenix nice and safe up the middle, eh?
Oh, yeah, classic Ed Baird move right there.
You'll debrief him at dinner, will you?
Not much to debrief, but they're in the middle of in the middle of everybody and away.
How are you getting home?
Yeah, right. But you can see how much, they were a little bit marginal off the starting line than Phoenix was. And just being able to get away from everybody. And now they're right back up there, only 40 meters away from the leaders.
Indeed, yeah. And I think, without doubt, first time in this fleet this season for Hasselplattner. He's really loving it, isn't he?
Oh, I think he's having a great time. And, it's not the first time he's had a 52 for a long time, but this
but
team is new
into
the circuit for sure. And how can you not love it? Look at the conditions that Cascais is delivering, and all the boats are really competitive. Racing is fun in this fleet for sure.
But it's nice to come into the fleet with the experience that he's got, and then test himself at the highest level, and come away with a huge amount of credit and having loved it.
Yeah, well, that's what sailing's all about,
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
Testing yourself at the most difficult level and the most difficult conditions. But that boat, Phoenix, doing very well now against boats like Provezza or Luna Rossa,
Yeah.
So Allegri here, I'm happy to see them here. They're taking a little bit more of a conservative position, like we said, and not taking too much risk. Nice middle start for them, and now just trying to make sure that they can use their speed, which they've clearly had at this event so far, to get themselves, in a great spot looking towards that starboard tack ley line.
Not seeing much of a gain on that right side just now for Azura and Sled.
No, not yet. Those guys, dropped way off the leaderboard there. They're getting the header. We saw this last time with Allegri out there on that side. They're getting the lighter air and getting the header, and nobody else is getting it. And that's just extra distance sailed for them.
The other thing it could be, you guys, is it doesn't necessarily look like it's such an angle change to the naked eye. So it could just be that there's a tiny bit more current as they get in closer to shore, and if they don't then get the huge right wind shift, then you're just sailing, you have to sail extra distance. The escalator of water underneath you is going further and taking you further away from the mark. And earlier when we were so much closer to shore the other days and it was lighter, the wind shifts were big enough that it was definitely factoring in on that right side, but it really doesn't seem to play very much today at all.
So seeing the first boats on that right side attacking, Nick, Sled and Azura, platoon going on just a little bit further.
Yeah, when you're on the right side and you aren't able to go clear across the port boats, then you have a decision to make. Whether you go early and hope that you don't get tacked on, like platoon just hit Azura here, or you can just take the overlay and just overlay by 2 boat lengths and hope that everybody else is going to hit right on ley line. Phoenix coming out of this really well and throwing attack in here on platoon. Nice tack there, and Azura is going to be feeling the pain, so is Sled. Platoon off the line better in this race, and actually not so upset about that. He got attacked by Phoenix. I mean, if you're not quite, Phoenix not quite far enough to really hurt Platoon, so actually more acting as a blocker right now.
Certainly looking quite good for Luna Rossa and Quantum just now.
Yeah, they were able to stay lifted on port for long enough that it looks like they might be able to cross everybody, or at least be in a really strong spot coming back towards the mark.
Luna Rossa more so than Quantum.
But Quantum in a tricky spot here because they want to be conservative. They want to be just sort of managing the fleet. But they're kind of in a position where they can't choose to do that. They have to take a risk right now and decide. Because if they tack underneath these guys that they're not crossing, then that could mean trouble at the ley line. So a little bit of a tricky spot for them, and maybe more risk than they'd like to be in. Luna Rossa going in front of Phoenix here, Quantum tacking 2. Allegre probably not happy with the picture of just looking right at the stern of Luna Rossa there.
Nope. So between Platoon and Luna Rossa, Platoon in quite a good position there, Jenny.
Yeah, really good position. I'm impressed at how much Quantum Racing actually was able to then sail faster and cross Preveza earlier. So to get up to be right in the position of Luna Rossa, they've made some gains. They were on their stern, if you can remember, right off the start line. So really well sailed to the American team, but it's still a long way to go to this top mark, and I'm not quite sure where they are compared to the ley line. The ley line's hard to see from here, so it'll be an interesting one if they don't make it enough to tack out underneath those two boats.
Well, it's nice to see a different shot here, just a little bit. You can see, as the perspective changes, as you get different angles, everything looks different, and Platoon in a really strong spot here. Phoenix just trying to hold on, and maybe Luna Rossa and Quantum.
Not so pretty.
Yeah, could spell trouble for them if they're not able to lay this mark.
The strength is really with the Platoon, less so with Allegre. Allegre just probably getting, and then Azura just behind.
Well, I'll tell you, Phoenix is definitely going to be feeling the pressure here. It's a long way to ley line, or a long way to the mark at least. And these guys sort of getting pinched off by Luna Rossa and rolled by Platoon. And not being able to live in this spot for Phoenix is going to cost them several points. So they're really trying to push the boat to its maximum boat speed right now.
So Jenny, we're just above ley line on this with this group on starboard, yeah?
I'm sorry again, Andy?
I'm just saying we're just above ley line with this group led by Platoon.
If they're above ley line, then Quantum Racing is looking really solid. If they get any sort of left tip at the end of it, it's going to be, as you guys said, a difficult task to get around Platoon. Platoon's very much blocking the rest of them from tacking. So Phoenix holding on for dear life as long as they can. They'll get shot off the back, but I still don't think they'll lose Preveza. And then that's the question is when Preveza packs up and in, are they aiming for that spot just behind Phoenix and front of Sled and the rest of the pack there or not? But they've got some distance to go still to the top mark. So we can assume Phoenix will keep dropping back, and maybe even Quantum Racing will start to drop back and might not lay as well, which will be, it'll put them in a hard spot.
Well, Platoon definitely overlaid him. You can see them kind of cracking off on the sails and putting the bow down hard. So Luna Rossa actually in a really strong spot here. They're going to be super happy with how this upwind has gone.
So a little bit in the balance just now for Quantum.
I mean, this is super tight, Andy. These guys, there's no distance between any of these boats, and it's super fun to watch things like that pan out, and all these boats just so fast and so good at executing. You get up to the ley line, and 5 meters can make a huge difference.
Exactly.
I mean, Phoenix gets 5 meters way earlier on, and they would be able to stay in front of Platoon rolling over them. And here's our ley line shot. Actually looks like Quantum is going to be able to make it, which puts them in a really good spot here. So maybe we are seeing a bit of a late right shift if all of these guys are overlaying like this. Be interesting to see. I'm sure the answer to if there was a right shift will be answered as whether they jibe set or not around the offset mark.
But a great race between Quantum and Luna Rossa. So Provezza coming back.
Well, Provezza actually in a great spot. I mean, they might even be able to sneak in here in between Luna Rossa and certainly in between Phoenix and the mark. But good on them to wait a little bit on that, down low on starboard and let everybody else overlay. Oh, but here they go for the duck, so maybe not.
And I think the hole for Provezza is just behind Phoenix. There's a big gap between Phoenix and the rest of the pack, but it's
perspective changes all the time, doesn't it?
Yeah, sure does.
That lay line underneath the rest of them and get that lift and pull out what was not the best start in.
So Quantum racing round with the lead with Luna Rossa second.
Overall, so.
Then, Luna Rossa round in second. Third, Phoenix. Fourth, Platoon. Just at the offset now with the kite up before the offset mark on the Luna Rossa. So standard bearaway set, so not too much right shift then.
Yeah, we're seeing the bearaway sets, and I think maybe it's just normal sets going to say that the course left side is what these guys are looking for. So
for pressure, I think,
definitely a good gain for the upwind boats, Luna Rossa and Quantum, making it work out of that side. And so maybe all these guys thinking one less jibe is good, and that side of the course is better as well.
So top two boats in the previous race, Azura and Sled, 7th and 8th in this race. Swings and roundabouts kind of day, innit? So Platoon going for the early jibe.
Yeah, we've seen their strategy is sort of to stay away from other boats, so I'm not all that surprised on the early jibe, just sort of staying away from the fleet and relying on their speed, which they know they have. It's certainly at times they have had it.
Big picture, they can afford to risk a little bit more. Quantum moving nicely in front of Luna Rossa. Phoenix and Luna Rossa jibing now. Quantum carrying on for a few minutes. Just a nice band of pressure there, aren't they?
Yeah, well, those are the times where you see Luna Rossa really soaking low and Quantum too, trying to get it so that when they do jibe, they can get in front of the bad air of Phoenix, who's trying to jibe on top of them. And whoever executes a better jibe there is going to make big gains, especially if the boat behind does a better job than the one in front. Phoenix a little bit of a better job there, so maybe they can put some pressure on Luna Rossa, roll over the top maybe later on in the downwind if they can go fast. Quantum going for the jibe here now too.
Kite filling, boom comes across. On the wave, you can just see the wave they're just sitting on.
Yeah, great job
coming
by
out
those
of
guys.
it. Trim on the wave. Grinders working hard there. And acceleration out of the jibe, so great work from Quantum. I think moved clear of Luna Rossa according to Virtual.
Yeah, it looks like a big lead for them now. And they're going to be really happy with that position if they can keep their air clear. It's possible that they're on ley line. One less jibe is a difference of 4 or 5 boat lengths when it gets breezy like this. And jibes are really slow. You stop planing, you stop surfing, boat goes displacement, you're pushing a lot more water, and the boat really slows down.
Let's keep an eye on Platoon over on that left side. Maybe some gains to them over there.
Yeah, it looks like so far on virtual they've made some gains over on that side.
Certainly relative to Luna Rossa and Phoenix, perhaps. Sled also on that left.
Well, like we said, Luna Rossa and Phoenix in a little bit of their own battle here. And as these boats start to focus in on the specific tactical situation and fight with the guys around, a lot of times they lose on the rest of the fleet. So you just got to decide whether it's worth it.
Jenny, what's your evaluation of this run so far?
It's difficult to see what the biggest game is going to be here, whether Quantum with a straight set for longer or whether Platoon with the early dive get on that right shift earlier. I mean, it looks to eye, obviously, like Platoon's made a big game, but it's because distance-wise they just haven't had to come towards us on the race course, so they still need to sail that distance, and that's really hard to tell. But I think if they've got enough breeze in there, we know it was a big right shift, and I would love to see, and I would hope to see that this is a game for them. I mean, we need something to go the way of those guys. They had such a tough week already, and to be able to make a move from fourth to second would be really nice. I mean, there were moments there where they were looking like they might be leading at the top mark, and to then end up rounding fourth is just another kind of stab to the wounds that they already are licking from this week.
Well, one of the battles that I'm interested in here is looking at Phoenix going high mode on Luna Rossa here. Really, threatening to roll over them. Luna Rossa Platoon driving right back on the starboard now. So we'll see if they end up crossing. Our virtual says that they are ahead. Oh, you can see that Phoenix just getting over the top of Luna Rossa, looks like from our perspective here.
That from on the water as well. It's just hard to see the vertical separation to see if they're actually affecting them or if they've actually rolled them or if they're just sailing deeper and maybe gaining a little bit that way. But Phoenix is sailing hotter and higher. Behind Phoenix, though, there's another boat. I can't see if it's a Zura or not. It looks like it might be a Zura who is also sort of following that train over the top of Luna Rossa. If that's the case, then something's gone wrong on board Luna Rossa and they're sailing slow. But coming up is the moment of truth between Platoon and that fleet, and it definitely looks like Platoon should have the cross. They're also on starboard, so they have rights as they cross.
Well, we're seeing Platoon actually winning this race now. So big gain for those guys. Really nice job. I mean, the only boat that decided to jibe set around the mark. And big gains for them. I mean, at least
and they're trucking.
At least 100-something meters on Luna Rossa and Phoenix, if not taking the lead away from Quantum.
Pretty much what Sled did on day one, wasn't it?
Yeah, and just goes to show that there's look at that, crossing Quantum there. So they're going to be super excited about that. That's a big turnaround from the last race. And
of course, Quantum teammates, but great shots of a Platoon absolutely trucking downwind and crossing Quantum. Quantum's not hanging about.
When they separated from the fleet on day one on race 2, they went from 9th to 2nd. We said, Jake is good at sticking to his guns. He will never follow this sheep and just go with the pack the way that the pack goes because of it. He'll always be looking at the numbers and making his own decisions. And I think that day it paid off, and we said it was either because they were faster or they did only one jibe to everyone else's others. Today, obviously, they've done the equal number or possibly more.
A bit shaky on the jibe getting the kite in, though, aren't they, Nick?
Yeah, well, tough jibe for these guys, and Quantum putting themselves in a great spot and threatening pretty hard to make Platoon jibe again here and maybe cause a fouling situation. But
coming into the gate fairly quickly, though, Platoon setting up for the right-hand mark, looking upwind. And going in fast. Quantum coming to this left-hand mark, looking upwind. Quantum coming round now. It's actually pretty even through the gate, isn't it?
Yeah, clean rounding for Quantum there, and a little bit of a kite mess up by Platoon, and it makes it hard. For them, they lose a few boat lengths, and now they're even with Quantum with a split, although going towards the correct side. So
Luna
interesting.
Rossa and Phoenix. Phoenix putting Luna Rossa under pressure around that mark.
Yeah, well, I actually wouldn't be surprised to see a flag from Luna Rossa here. They're putting it really close, and I think maybe they thought Phoenix didn't have room there, so maybe an umpire call there.
Good run from Sled, really, as well, isn't that? Coming around the
great run
third mark. So, and there's Azura. So good gains down that run, Jen, for Platoon and for Sled.
Amazing runs, amazing gains for the run. I mean, really, really awesome job. And then to see them go and protect that right side, they knew it worked out on the last up and it just didn't totally play to their advantage because it came in too far, too much at the top, and the guys underneath them were able to lay after off. But I think this is a strong, solid move for them to have done that right rounding. And even though they were pretty much in a split with Quantum, I think they should be looking good coming together. I mean, it's fun to see the two Quantum boats at the top because Platoon's been having such a rough week already that it was just like the sister ship was the only one going well. But the rest of the guys, a little issue on Azura there. I didn't see what happened, but maybe just a very bad, very late duck on Phoenix. So their main was ragging wildly for a long second. But some good mark roundings there, and I think Luna Rossa didn't have their best, so they've lost a little bit.
Well, Luna Rossa and Phoenix, neither one of them having a great rounding, and you see Sled and Azura right back into the race, probably Sled ahead of these guys now.
Indeed, yeah. Sled went round the top mark, I think, in 8th position, so kudos to them, up to 3rd. Fantastic run, doing the same kind of job as Platoon did. Platoon getting right out in front, though I'd say it's fairly close between them and Quantum just now. In the balance, but the key thing for Quantum is putting points on the board relative to Azura and Allegra, really, and also Sled. Sled, as we said, got up onto the 3rd step in the podium by virtue of that last race.
Yeah, Quantum happy to see Azura and Allegra back in the fleet here and definitely able to play a much more conservative game, and they're probably not even really worried about Platoon passing them on that downwind, so long as they're staying in the 2nd place position and staying in a strong spot with the other two guys pretty far behind. But Allegra here finding themselves again. I mean, they had a fine start. Nothing so bad with the way that they started that race. And now kind of looking again at not such a great position on the fleet and sort of wondering. They did pull the conservative move twice now, and it has worked out neither time. So surprising from my perspective to see the conservative move put you in last place. But these guys are probably not very happy with how that's been going.
So what about Luna Rossa then? I mean, Luna Rossa had a good start and were 2nd around the top mark, now down to 4th. But really, it's not been, they haven't made big mistakes, have they, Nick?
They haven't made big mistakes for sure. I mean, they haven't done anything crazy, but they also seem to be a little bit slower than the other teams downwind, and maybe having some issues with boat handling in general. I mean, as you might expect from a new team. And just a reminder that we're here in the first event of the season that has big breeze.
Yeah.
And none of the practice days before this event had big breeze. So these guys, I mean, none of these teams have a ton of practice, in the uprange conditions. So it's hard, especially for new teams, to have great boat handling. And you lose 10 or 20 meters each time you do something not quite right. And that's a big loss in a fleet like this.
Completely. I think that's where you see the likes of Sled and Quantum and Azura in particular. We've got real strength and depth and background in the class.
No, for sure. And
have
Sled
done dozens and dozens of strong wind days and have had successes over the years.
Absolutely. Sled making big gains around the having a good mark rounding there. I mean, just a good douse and a good rounding, and you put 35, 40 meters on the boats that were right in front of you, and now they're looking at third place position in a really strong, powerful spot. They've got to be really happy with how they've been going today.
And you have to remember that some of the core on the sled team are with Team New Zealand when they won the Med Cup twice, and they were absolute masters in the strong breeze, including Dean Barker at the time. So it's Platoon versus Quantum just now.
Yeah, Platoon very happy with that downwind and going to be very happy again with the rounding the mark that they did and getting out to this right side. I mean, I know it didn't quite work as well as they'd seen in the past. Any of these boats probably surprised by how well the left has worked today. But for sure, you got to expect that these guys are wanting the right side still if they can take it.
Especially more of a kind of boat for boat situation versus Platoon, you would think, but balance tipping back and forwards between Platoon and Quantum. Like you say, although here we go with Platoon having tacked. Jenny, are you close to Platoon and Quantum?
You know, we're not close to it, but we can see it from here. It's a long way away from our position, but it almost looks like maybe Quantum's made a little bit of a gain. I'm not quite sure if it'll be enough gain to actually cross, though, or whether it'll be possibly a leave out.
Looking good for Quantum just now, but
well, unless it's a clean cross, I don't think Quantum's going to push it here. They've got a strong spot in the overall standings and no reason to really push it against these boats and just stay away from trouble for these guys. That's the name of the game right now.
absolutely with a solid second / first. Going over or up to Platoon's line.
Yeah. So here they go for the tack now.
And Platoon respond. So it's looking pretty breezy though, and we're certainly looking forward to this last run. If the previous one was anything to go by just in terms of sheer spectator sport.
Boats are going to be smoking by. So Platoon coming right back on the starboard and Quantum back on the port again. So a little bit of a battle between these guys. Quantum probably going to hit them again and just keep forcing Platoon to tack further out right until they're overlaid. You get far enough ahead and it's easy to just get the one-on-one battles out there. There's no way to lose on the fleet behind you. You're not too worried about that.
And Sled, meantime, Sled are pretty much on their own there.
Yeah, Sled going to gain out all of this.
Yeah.
Quantum. We saw them all.
Yeah.
We've seen Quantum do this the whole week. Do a really good job of taking powerful, commanding positions and really just pushing the fleet around behind them to gain as much as they can forward. And you can see that happening. And Virtual's got them now 43 meters ahead of Platoon, who was previously, 3 meters behind them.
In the meantime, Sled is only 20 or so meters behind Platoon.
Look at that, Quantum coming for another hit on Platoon. These guys, so much for being teammates, Andy.
Exactly.
Oh, there's no mercy here.
Normally in a tack you do like this, the boat behind should gain. They make gains when they tack through the bad air of the boat in front. They actually gain in the tack by sailing through less bad air, like less breeze against them. And then they make gains because they can pick where they tack back as the spot in the waves. So the boat that has to hit, the Quantum Racing in this respect, usually have to hit them right on their line where they want to, and they can't really pick their spot in the waves nearly as much. But surprisingly here, Platoon is not at all gained in this package deal. Quantum's gained every single time. So I think it's just the crispness and the slickness of Quantum's maneuvers that are allowing them to accelerate out of that packing duel.
And we're seeing Sled in the picture there, just coming into the mix.
Sled probably looking up at this battle, thinking,
yes,
this is great for us, yeah.
We can't wait for the final run. Wait and see what the two boats in front do. Light the afterburners. Azura chipping away up to 5th now.
Allegra is still struggling back here, and I'm sure these guys are probably a bit frustrated with how the day's gone. I mean, they did the smart move, being conservative off of both starts and somehow still ending up in the back of the pack, while being all week, being a contender and being a strong boat in this World Championship.
I think that's the problem with conservative starts, right? We said it about Platoon. You can't be conservative on this starting line. It's not working on this race course. So I think Allegra changed their game plan, played a conservative plan, and it's not the move on this starting line. It's not the way to win or to be top 3 or top 5 in this race course.
So why did Azura not repeat the previous start? Why did they start the committee boat?
Well, I would say, Andy, they actually did repeat the previous start. I mean, the last start, they were at the pin, sure, but for them, their thought process was probably, let's stay away from the fleet. Let's stay away from people who are going to be pinching and going slow, and just make our boat go fast. And I think they were seeing most of the fleet go down towards that pin end of the line, and they're thinking, let's get away and tack early and get away from the fleet. Just early gains from the left side, which is surprising. I'm sure it's certainly surprising to me, and I'm sure it's surprising to those guys out there to see the left sort of gaining early on and not losing too much to the right side later on. So Azura also maybe a little bit surprised by how that's gone.
Yeah, for sure. Quantum have opened up a little bit on Platoon, considering how close they were at the leeward gate. Going around pretty much at the same time. So certainly in this breeze, 2 races is enough, isn't it?
Oh, these guys are going to be very tired coming in. And I'll tell you what, I've held the tiller on some of these boats.
No, of course.
Even driving is a really difficult thing.
Yeah,
There's a lot of pressure, a lot of helm, and holding the tiller is harder than it might seem. So everybody on board is going to be quite tired. I mean, everybody hiking, and then you've got the drivers under a lot of pressure, and also main trimmers constantly adjusting a very, very heavy main sheet.
That's before you talk about the grinders. Anyway, nice shots of Quantum Racing approaching the windward mark for the final time today. It's their second race at the ROLEX TP52 World Championships today. Quantum have their main rivals Sled in 3rd, Azura in 5th.
Nice shot of these guys come up the ley line. You can see how big the waves are. I mean, the bows are rising and falling, 10 feet at times. So very choppy out here, and got to be difficult for main trimmers and drivers to make it work and not sort of slam into a wave and see the boat speed drop down 1/10 of a knot or more. The Sled now coming back into the fleet on port. looking for the spot up here. You can see a nice spot between Quantum and Phoenix there. Might be where they're looking to tack into. Zura definitely liking that spot, tacking in there, hoping that they're on ley line. Phoenix probably looking at them going, uh-oh. Trying to press down over the top, because if you can't, then there's the option to jibe set's taken away. Have to roll them, otherwise your situation around the mark is going to be tough. So they see Platoon and Sled coming in on port.
Sled absolutely in there though, aren't they?
Oh yeah, for sure, and both of them planting it right on top of Azura, which is definitely not what they were hoping for. So Azura making a trade-off of sailing less distance, but they're going to be in bad air all the way to the mark from now.
And Dean Barker just sailing a little bit of extra height.
Luna Rosa coming in late as well and hoping to sneak in. Probably their spot between Sled and Platoon. Sled putting the bow down, trying to keep them from getting in there. See the same with Phoenix. So Luna Rosa going behind Sled now and in front of Phoenix. Not a lot of space at this top mark, even on the second beat. I mean, this looks close for a first beat.
Absolutely, it's going to be a great final run. What do Quantum do relative to Platoon and Sled?
Oh well, Quantum just get away and go fast and try to keep. I mean,
just like that.
They're not worried about the guys behind them. They just want to stay away from them and keep going quick.
So Jenny, Quantum just approaching the windward mark. Talk us around the mark.
You know, Quantum has pulled out a very solid lead here, a 4-boat length lead from what was a second place rounding at the bottom mark, and I'm just super impressed how they've been sailing this race. They've done a really good job at being patient and calm and collected, and it was amazing to see. Behind them, Platoon up into second with that great downwind that they had, just not able to hold off the first place as they rounded the bottom marks, but still a much better placement than we've seen that team perform almost all week long. Then behind them, Sled, also with a great downwind. You said they were almost 8th at the top mark the first time ending, so really good job for Sled showing their downwind speed. And then Luna Rosa not quite able to hold their podium position, but still sticking it in there for 4th. And Phoenix just rounding on their stern for 5th place. A very, very tight battle there for sure on this downwind. Behind them, Azura coming in for 6th. Azura's not going to be happy with that after winning the first race. They're going to be hungry for a bit more, so let's see what they go for on the downwind. Behind Corvetza in 7th. And at moments in this race, Corvetza was all the way up in the top 3, so we'll have to take a look at what they did on their downwind, in the first downwind that made them drop off. And then it's actually hard to see who that is bringing up the rear, but it's Allegra. So in the front, the majority of the fleet has jibe set here. Quantum took a bit longer to jibe. Luna Rosa was the only one who had some struggles with their spinnaker, just didn't quite pop through as they jibed around. Actually, behind them now, the next 3 boats are regular setting, so Phoenix sticking with the straight set here. Corvetza, going for the jibe set, but behind Phoenix, they're sticking with the straight set as well. So interesting to see. I said Azura would want to be hungrier for more, and maybe Azura's trying to split from the rest of the fleet to see if they can make some gains.
So all these boats may be thinking that course right side is a bit better. Quantum in a great spot. I mean, like we said, just stay away from the fleet, go fast. Phoenix and Azura are going to see if they can pass as many boats as possible, and Luna Rosa and Sled in their sights. It worked for Platoon to go jibe set early and stay away from the fleet. So we'll see if it was actually that side or if it was just staying away, which one was really better. But great shots of Phoenix now. I mean, these guys, going very fast and probably looking to get far away, maybe reduce jibes to only 1. And, the only talk on board this boat right now is probably just between the driver and the kite trimmer about how to make the boat go as fast as possible.
I guess sometimes it's between the guy releasing the old seat there. Azura had a good spot for their jibe and then just never filled the kite afterwards for about 15 seconds, and it looked like their old sheet was too tight and it wasn't allowing the kite to actually get out breathing away from the boat. So what they were looking for in their big game, they will have just lost with a pretty horrendous jibe, unfortunately.
Yeah, you never like to see that, and mistakes like that sort of make it really difficult to make the right decision if you're not always going fast. So, but it happens, and most likely a sheet got caught or something like that. And so these boats are really complicated, and things move very fast, and sometimes it's really, really hard to execute perfectly, even on maneuvers as simple as you would think as just jibes, you know? So we're seeing Luna Rosa actually with, like Jenny said, not a great set there, and you see them lose a little bit of distance down. But it's actually not such a bad spot. If they can stay low on sled and jibe simultaneously, then they might have a strong spot. A good chance to roll them. So Luna Rosa, maybe the mistake that they made is almost maybe a benefit. Can be seen that way, at least. They'd like to take the 3 boat lengths back, but...
Exactly.
At least they have some boat length low. But looks like on our tracker so far, Jenny, that the good gain of the guys that jibed right away, the boats that jibed right away, look like they're putting some distance on the straight set boats.
So certainly going plenty quick down this final run. Nice shots of Quantum, Platoon, and Sled coming down the run. So looking good for Quantum. Quantum would come ashore with a 9-point lead, which going into the last day of the World Championship is not too shabby.
No, they'll be really happy with that, and they've sailed a great regatta so far. Boat speed and boat handling has been on point, and that makes it really easy on Terry Hutchison, you know, tactician, strategist, to make decisions that are correct and make them look smart. It's when you have good teamwork and the boat's going fast, makes decisions very easy. So good job on these guys. They've been sailing very well all week.
And this will restore some confidence on Platoon. Absolutely flying down there, aren't they?
Oh, they've been going super fast, and definitely after yesterday, it was a tough day with the last, you know, even at the finish, getting into a penalty and
a penalty this morning, you know.
And a penalty this morning. So not great, you know, not very clean from them so far. But this is going to make them happy. It's always better to come off the last race of the day having a good one than...
And the last race of a regatta.
Oh, for sure.
Because we will go from here to Puerto Portales next month. Sea breeze conditions on the Bay of Palma. Everybody knows the venue. And that's where Provezza won last year.
So Platoon, Sled, Luna Rosa all jibing now. Looked like a good gain on Phoenix and Azura down there on the other side, but the jibe is a big loss. And Sled almost in a tough spot. Luna Rosa, like we said, getting low. Able to put some pressure on, and maybe if they can gain a boat length or two down a wave, then they can be in a good spot to roll.
Great sprint for the finish, but no mistaking the leader, Quantum Racing, over 200 metres ahead. This would be their 3rd race win of the regatta. The other boats which have won races so far this regatta are Luna Rosa, Allegre, Azura twice, Quantum twice. Going into this race. Luna Rosa not hanging about there, are they?
No, they're really trying to push over Sled here, and you see the strengths of these teams, and you can also see their weakness. I mean, they a lot of breakdowns on the boat and some sort of weird mistakes you don't always see teams make can show that there's not a lot of experience for these guys in at least working together.
Yeah.
You know, all obviously
it's a work in progress, isn't it?
Yeah, but very experienced sailors and very good sailors. But these boats are very difficult to manage, and it takes time, it takes practice. especially in the big breeze, and you've seen that be difficult for them.
So certainly Luna Rossa putting it to Sled just now. Could be close at the finish, but I think Sled should just get there.
Yeah, well, Phoenix a big loss. It looks like our tracker's putting them in last place now, but not going to be. They're looking at Luna Rossa and Provezza sort of pretty frustrated maybe with.
So Quantum Racing coming down through towards the finish line at full speed. Ready to win this second race of the day. They've only got a matter of meters to go. And as I say, that will give them a lead of 9 points, I think, going into the final day, on course for their 6th world title. Quantum come through the line. Applause for from Terry Hutchison. He looks pretty happy.
Yeah, well, he's stoked about
He's
that.
He's totally pumped. And then Jenny, Platoon coming through for second.
Of last year, but as you said, it's very much slipping away from them to the likes of Quantum. But a second place, a well-deserved second for them. I think only could be 1 point better with Quantum Racing. They were there at moments in that race, and that's going to be a big relief. But behind them, it is very close.
Oh, very close.
Rosa just going deep for a good Sled maintains that third place, and literally does not quite pull it off. Actually, Francesco Brini, they're yelling at someone on this team. I'm not sure if he wanted them to blow the kite out even further, but they didn't really have the shot there, I think. Okay, another really tight battle here. Azura versus Provezza and the third boat on the inside. I think Azura is going to have this right at the last second. They are going to roll into 5th position. Provezza pulling off the 6th, and Allegre getting into 7th. You said Phoenix struggling on that downwind with the straight set. It did not work out at all in their favor. So Azura was just able to pull back from the straight set, but Phoenix was not. They went a little bit too far, and they've had to suffer the 8th place because of it.
So significant little points gain for Azura coming into the finish. They were 7th, coming across in 5th. That closes the gap at the top of the table. Quantum Racing will be on 17, Azura on 24, but still 7 points, not too bad going into the last day.
Seven points is hard to make up, but definitely possible in a fleet like
this. What a fantastic day though. Look at these shots. This is Cascais at its best. Penultimate day of the Rolex TP52 World Championship. This is what we came here for. And Quantum Racing, another champagne day, winning race 7, Platoon 2nd, Sled 3rd, Luna Rossa 4th, Sister Ship Azura 5th, Provezza 6th, Allegre 7th, and Phoenix in 8th place. And the standings, as I said, Quantum Racing 17 points after 7 races. That's a pretty good average, really. Azura 2nd, 24, Sled 3rd, 28, Luna Rossa 32, Allegre also on 32, Provezza 40, Platoon 41, Phoenix 45, and Onda, who have been not racing today due to the illness with Eduardo de Souza Ramos in 9th place. So Jenny, Quantum Racing leading into the final day. What's your thoughts?
You know, earlier I was thinking about what play I would have said was the play of the day, and at first I wanted to say it was Azura winning the pin in that first race and kind of mimicking the Allegre from the other day, but I honestly think the play of the day was Quantum Racing having
on that second start.
Sort of at that start, and then being able to, whether it was boat handling, sail trim, driving, but being able to sit in that tiniest of tiny lanes. I mean, we called it a slim lane. It was like paper width thick, and they sat there and they held up and they were super patient, and everyone tacked off, and they ended up pulling out what was then ultimately a win at the top mark. And I think that patience and that ability of the team to sit there in that lane, whatever it was that they were doing, that made them live, that was just really remarkable sailing. So I think it shows why they're at the top of the leaderboard right now. Yeah, slim lead of 7 points, so 7 points is plenty with only 2 races. So I'm really impressed with how they're sailing, and I think we've had a pretty good range of conditions here this week. It's been mostly up, but it hasn't been totally up. So they proved themselves a force to be reckoned with.
And yeah, pretty solid day for Sled though. Sled had that great run, but overall they're keeping themselves in contention for the season and looking good for another podium position, Jenny.
Yeah, and I think that's fairly deserved as well. I mean, they've had some moments that's really.
Sorry, you seem to have lost Jenny just momentarily. Yeah, we're just saying, Nick, that Sled have been super consistent this season. Have had 2 podiums and are now back on course for a 3rd.
Yeah, that team doing a really good job, and you know, consistency is the name of the game at the end of the season. You know, Quantum done really well as well, but Sled putting the pressure on them as a team to do well overall in the season. So Sled, you know, maybe not in a great spot to win the World Championship, but definitely doing well overall.
So just Quantum then looking good for tomorrow. Should see some strong breezes once again tomorrow. Let's hope for some action. Join us again tomorrow for the final day of the Rolex TP52 World Championships in Cascais.